right, we're on. Again, I appreciate you, and again, I appreciate your patience. Patience. All right. Who's working the sound tonight? Okay. This your equipment? All right, thank you, brother. We don't want the mic going out or nothing. This Saturday night, you know, Saturday nights, the mics go out. So this Saturday night, so we don't want the mic to go out tonight. We don't want no gas leak. This Saturday night. Them things happen on Saturday night, I guess. All right. I appreciate being here with you again. As I mentioned the other day, it's been a long week. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of people who are willing to sacrifice to try to help provide a clear picture. It's really been exhausting trying to get to everybody. It's very difficult. There needs to be more of an opportunity to make one available to give information to share to provide a better picture. I know some of you have bought some videotapes and other things. There's some things that we'll be looking at, some things, questions that I arose that I'll substantiate why I arose them. And I have no problem about making someone feel uncomfortable when someone else has bullets in their body. A small level of discomfort is not bad to shake speculation when someone has been assassinated. And I want to tell you this, probably more than anything I want to tell you tonight, what I really feel about, what I think about what happened in the last couple of weeks. And I really believe this honestly. And I want you to think about it in this context. Let's just say somebody doesn't like Minister Farrakhan. And they really have a plot and a plan to try to destroy the brother as the titular or pinnacle head of the Nation of Islam. Anyone that analyzes the organization understands beyond all reason of a doubt the capability of Brother Khallid in a military-type atmosphere. So I want you to look in the context of that if you were to try to mess with the minister, and I believe that the forces that attempted to neutralize Brother Dr. Khallid eventually seek to neutralize Minister Farrakhan, but you cannot mess with the minister unless you get rid of Khallid. You must think about who is capable of assembling within the present structure, within the past structure, within the deep-seated hardcore nature of those who would be called upon if there had been a direct attack upon the Nation of Islam. I remember the attack on the mosque in New York. And I remember Dr. Khallid being not too far away from there, and when he arrived at the scene, his tone and temperament at dealing with the enemy in a critical time freed some of the brothers who hesitated and were stuck behind the barricades to come on into the house that belonged to them. Khallid moved those barricades and told the police damn them if they attempted to stop someone from defending their own house, and claimed all those brothers as members of the house. And the police backed up. And so I want you to deeply think about that this attack on Khallid is really deeper than Khallid himself. And that the attack on Khallid is really just a prelude to a series of possible attempted attacks that will try to neutralize a cadre of people who potentially could be at the vanguard of a military call to defend the community. I want you to think about that in that context. I remember very clearly how if one had killed Malcolm X after one had killed Martin King, then the contradictions would have been so high that the one who could have best capitalized upon the hypocrisy of the Civil Rights All-Stars had to be murdered first, so that then the Martin legacy could be murdered second, and fear rang amongst the black community, for terrorism is chosen for the symbolic nature of the witnesses. The victims are only picked because of their uniformity to the victims who will absorb the fear. And the fear will neutralize the physical without direct confrontation. And that aids and abets the system. If we're talking about an emerging new world order, all the things we ever spoke on really hedge upon the elimination of extreme. Extreme is not an ugly thing as articulated by the whites as something so far out and so excessive. Extreme in the face of tyranny is reality. That's okay. Because when you're going against such a treacherous enemy, nothing short of treachery in return is fair play. That's the law of the book upon which many serve. And so within that context, the conclusions, tentative as they are, about how one should look at this and bury into it in the future, commands our understanding that in the emerging New World Order, last time I was here, I mentioned to you Zygmunt Brzezinski's book, Out of Control. Out of Control. And when it analyzed the essence of what was the predominant threat to the emerging New World Order, it was the young black male. It was urban unrest. It wasn't the Chinese, it wasn't the Russian, it wasn't the North Koreans. I refer you to an article that appeared in Foreign Affairs recently entitled Outlaw States. It was written by the National Security Advisor Anthony Lake. Don't think an attack on Dr. Khallid would be made without the supervision of the National Security Council, for you must understand how it works. It is the ultimate policeman. It's over the LAPD, the county sheriffs, the Riverside Police, the National Security Council can coordinate the media's misrelaying information. It can coordinate the police's withdrawal at an opportune moment. It can coordinate the confusion related to the weapon and the person and the situation. And it can set the climate that says, well, he did it to himself. Only the National Security Council can do that. Bess could be a part of an operation, which he is a part of an operation, but only the National Security Council can get the okay. Whether it been Oswald or Andrew Brimmer or whoever these lone nut assassins were that they picked. They picked them for their ability not to upset the status quo. And so we have to appropriately know how to turn and focus our attention upon the forces who are most likely to have benefited and capitalized from the confusion. And so I want you tonight to think about the National Security Council and to think about the names of the people involved and the people associated. We mentioned here the other night the role of the State Department and Dr. Khallid being unable to get into Canada, and the role the State Department plays in such a declaration that someone is unfit to enter a particular country. And we talked about how the CIA hides within those embassies, and many of those State Department people that make those declarations are in fact doing them on behalf of the agencies that they work for undercover in an embassy. And I will remind you, when I was here before, we talked about Clifton Wartime. Clifton Wartime was the Deputy Secretary of State. He was the only black man ever to have attained such a position in an agency with such a dominant impact over Africa and other things that Africans do around the globe. Lowest profile of most. But Clifton Wartime, who had been chairman of the Rockefeller Foundation, on the board of Chase Manhattan Bank of New York, a director of the Council on Foreign Relations, wasn't a good enough nigga to keep the spot. Moves had to be made, and mysteriously, he lost his job, a couple of months back. And I mention that because if you look carefully to his own exclamation about his own fate and destiny, I refer you to an article on him in Emerge magazine entitled Abrupt Exit. And he says, even though he's a man of influence and power, he says very clearly he does not know what happened to him in that position. Now that might, and who it was that took him out of the position. Here is the story right here in Emerge magazine, Abrupt Exit. I'm trying to say that maybe even a passive, moderate black man who saw something on the table, hidden in the back, a group of people meeting, felt he was supposed to be supervising it, sticked himself in to find out who was on the list, and heard or saw too much and had to be dismissed and pushed away, is now all lily white. And that's important when you need to go in the back room and say, you know, Joe, let's take down the niggas today. All the while this is going on, Africa's suffering retrenchment, and we have not kept the African issue in its appropriate context to put pressure on Americans for African unrest. If 500,000 people have been killed in Rwanda, and every Rwandan woman has 8.8 babies, the highest fertility rate of any country in Africa, Somehow, some way, they seem to understand that even a lot of the other things we do as we get compelled in domestic behavior continuously keep us, that all issues flow from one desk. And whether it be domestic or foreign, they're managed together. You don't manage the foreign connection and leave the domestic thing running loose. It's a joint effort. So you need some distraction on the domestic level. You need massive escalation for ultimate goals. I've heard many of you mention to me about that population conference coming up in Cairo and the importance of the declarations that are being made about that Africa and other people of color must do with less people. And there must be attrition on their populations. I know you understand that, but how does that affect South Central L.A.? How will that compel what you see here to happen over there? Maybe potentially Dr. Khallid could have had an impact on some attack of a location of this or that. So those who are what called impact players had to be neutralized. So I say, and I'll say it this way, my tentative conclusion is that there is a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy. And I hold this up because I don't like the question mark on it. I have to say it. I'm here to have to say what I have to say. It is not a question of, is it a conspiracy? It is a conspiracy. And there's no one going to come away at any other time with any other thing from any of them that's going to make such a declaration when it ain't. We will do that ourselves. But I say, based upon the tentative conclusion, there is a conspiracy. The question now is who, under what circumstances, and under the direction of whom, for the benefit of whatever. And now the questions are to fill in the blanks. There is a conspiracy to attempt to kill Dr. Khallid. And I mentioned to you the Noriega syndrome, that if you missed him one time, that you would come back and try to mention him again or get him again. Okay. Okay. And that various people must be peeled out of positions in preparation for such a thing. And so we must move forward diligently because I believe the shooting is not over yet. I don't believe the sabotage and the disruption is over yet because they have met with unfulfilled promises. The hysteria and the confusion that they sought to instigate has not come about. Therefore, it is more than likely, understanding of their role, that they will try again. And so I want you to stay on your edge, but keep the focus of the enemy toward specific names for some specific responsibilities, because if you don't, they will feel without a threat that they could do it again very easily. Highest ranking African American in the U.S. State Department ever had resigned. Top officials at the State Department and the White House speak anonymously said wartime lacked foreign policy skills, implying that he was to blame for administration's serious miscues in Haiti, Somalia, and Bosnia. But Wartime grew up the son of the first black Foreign Service officer, and he held a Foreign Service appointment under 4 presidents, indicated that whites believed that he could not handle the post. And here's a picture of Clifton Wartime, but all he says in here was, he said he never really had any responsibility, and he doesn't know why he was ever fired for never having done anything, seeing how he never had anything to do. And this is a very dangerous thing because he says, but in this case, I don't believe it would be right or proper for me to express that view. He says, are you disappointed in the conduct of the Clinton administration over this? Well, I do not know. Overwhelmingly, the letters I've gotten from people have expressed everything from anger to dismay at the administration over this, and quite few of my personal friends have written directly to the administration. If there's one characteristic reaction among many people, it's strong anger. But in this case, I don't believe it would be right or proper for me to express that view because I still don't have all the answers to the questions. I think it would be fair to use my experience as a valid test for the administration. He goes on to say he really doesn't know. He says, what really happened to you? That's very difficult for me to assess. The one thing I do believe is that the media from the very beginning, unfortunately, viewed my appointment stereotypically as it did all high-level appointments of women and minorities. So every time a minority or female nomination was made, a stereotype was used, and that this individual was selected because he or she, a woman, or he or she is a minority, not because he or she is competent. Okay. All right. Anyway, he just goes on to say he really doesn't know what happened. And it's just an interesting phenomenon. Racism, leaks, and isolation drove Clifton Wartime to resign from the State Department. That's a very proactive statement. And I just wanted to keep that out in front of you. What Dr. Khallid was saying at the King College speech was about South Africa. It's a story you might want to get in the Rothschild-owned Economist magazine. This is the May 28th, June 3rd issue, 94. Who owns South Africa is the story. But the reality of the story is this. It is a model of economic caution. In his State of the Nation speech on May 24, President Mandela was clearly eager to reassure markets and foreign investors. He promised only 2% of this year's budget to raise black living standards. As a start, pregnant women and children under 6 will get free medical care, and poor children will be fed at school. And even that cost, he said, will be met by savings elsewhere. The budget deficit will actually shrink. And it just goes on to say, under apartheid laws, blacks were allowed to own land only in 13 of the country's allocated black homelands. Some 3.5 million people were forcibly removed from the land by the white government between 1960 and 1980. Nearly all of them want their land back. Most is now owned and farmed by whites. The ANC plans a land rights commission to investigate claims. Problems abound. Now this is, okay, so they're going to get some of the land back. The ANC has promised both the restitution of land to blacks from whom it was confiscated under apartheid, and the distribution of land to those who have none. In sum, 30% of South Africa's farmland within 5 years, a figure plucked from the World Bank's guess that the government might be able to buy only 6% of the white-owned land each year. So that after 6 years, they would have gotten back 30% of the land, and they're going to pay the hunkies dearly for what they stole. Who owns South Africa? The hunky. One story that I want to hook into this story. The most prominent black on Africa is Randall Robinson. And he's profiled in your L.A. Times Friday, June 10th, like he was in most of the papers around the country over the fake fast. Fake fast for several reasons. Fake fast for several reasons. Because fake being that he stopped his fast when Clinton didn't change anything. And then when he stopped the fast, he went to a Korean restaurant and ate dinner in Washington, D.C., of all of the places to go. He didn't go to the Georgia Avenue Cafe or the Florida 9th Street Grill, someplace where the black people eat. He went to Chinatown and ate at a Korean restaurant. And so part of the stories around him deal with the subject of The Invisible Man, which he talks about was a book that was so significant in his life. But here in the story, it talks very clearly about the Ford Foundation's role in his development and the corporations who were of most interest in supporting the moderate move on Africa. The reason I bring up the moderate move on Africa is that that's the same moderate move they use in America. I'm very afraid of any alliance with the moderates who have not confessed their sins to the people who they jammed for so long, selling out so often, under so many different circumstances. I am very afraid of any alliance of moderation without confession. And so we come up on a purported leadership conference. Let's see if the leadership conference comes up with, which is going to be in Baltimore, I believe, under the direction of the NAACP. Let's see if it advocates greenhouses and fish farms and solar power. Let's see if it comes up with a military component to the black urban agenda. Let's see if it comes up with a name-to-name operation. Or let's see if it comes up with the same old, let's get the money from whoever, give it while we go out and do real hard work, getting not much of nothing. But I suggest, as they will find when they get to that leadership meeting, that people are not just going to allow them to be getting together in public in behalf of the people, never consulting the people they claim they represent. And I predict to you now, you watch your TV when that meeting come up, and see if the little people don't bogart their way in there and ask what right do they have to call themselves a leader of what don't look worth leading. Anyway, watch your Randall Robinson story. The Anti-Defamation League. It is public knowledge that the oh, look at the pencils move. Show you right. Get the pencils on the ADL. Yeah, everybody, get the pencil. Get the pencil, ADL. Yeah, get the ADL. Did you see the ADL in the paper this week? What were they doing? Did you see who saw the ADL in the paper this week? See, you must read. No, check. Well, they may have, but that's not what I'm mentioning. The ADL was embedded deep in another story about spying on people. Anybody know yet? You must read, Africans. I notice how thick your paper is, but how thin your knowledge is of what it's manipulating. It's not that the paper is true, but the paper reflects diversion or interest or priorities that are coming from the dominant cadres. But in a story this week on a white boy named Sullivan, who is busted for getting confidential police information. Everybody saying. And we know that the word is publicly that the criminal investigation of the ADL was stopped when they cut the deal in San Francisco. That's what we've been led to believe, isn't it? But that's not the truth at all, as one little paragraph in one little bitty story. And Brother Osternew, can we let Brother Osternew in there, please? Because this story got a lot to do with him. This is the Friday, June 10th, L.A. Times. The story is under the heading of ex-deputy chief charged with having LAPD records. Daniel Sullivan illegally got information for his investigation firm. Officials say he denies allegations. On the surface, it almost looked like a frivolous story. I almost missed it myself. And the story is about the old white guy buddy system that allows people to call white guy policemen, and they do favors for guys. They say if a guy needs a favor, I'll go get a secret file for him, and he does something for me. No money, but favors. White guys are good at favor things. That's how they work out a lot of them things where people don't do it for ideological justification. They do it for access to favors, patronage. And so they had a nice little buddy system going. And say that, you know, information on residents and license plates and all these other things are readily accessible, as we saw the ADL was readily accessible to these things. And we have felt all along that Willie Williams has been weak on the ADL. And he did not accept his affirmative responsibility to have raided those offices and let the San Francisco police do it, which might have got him out of some charges. So ain't nobody going to come on my turf and be policing nothing for me. Especially since I ought to have sense enough to know that I want to pull the ADL off the backs of my people, so I would use my police job to do it. We don't judge them by what uniform we wear. We judge them by what they do with the uniform when they put it on. It says, it's talking about, in an interview Thursday, Sullivan acknowledged knowing Bentley, a person involved, and said that former officer did work for his private investigation firm, getting court records and similar public accessible information. But he denied paying Bentley any money, saying instead that we did, quote, did favors for each other, end of quote, which he described as a common practice between police and private eyes. Quote, we all have a common community, Sullivan said. We help each other. Meaning not us. We all have a meaning the white guys. The white guy can count on another white guy to get information on a non-circled white guy. That's that oath taker thing we've been talking about, where they're kind of linked in together. Destinies joined together. They'll circumvent the law each time it'll aid and abet another one of them. Says, we all have common community. We help each other. But it is that level of cooperation that worries police and prosecutors, who say they become increasingly concerned about the confidential information being sold or bartered by police to private detectives. At least one Los Angeles private police detective has been convicted in recent years of selling such information to a private eye. And a police commission staffer was suspended for 10 years in 1992 for using LAPD computers without authorization. on celebrities, etc., from 88 to 92. In fact, at least 66 sworn officers and civilian personnel were disciplined for similar misuse of department computers. An internal investigation is also underway to determine whether the LAPD compiled confidential information about residents and turned it over to the Anti-Defamation League. An internal investigation. Well, you can't suspend an ADL non-working member of the police. In other words, if you catch the ADL getting confidential information. See, in this story, the person who received the information is in trouble as well as the one who gave it. So it can't be that they're out looking for police who work with the ADL without looking for the ADL, the recipient. And so it suggests that maybe under the foot, some pressure compelled this ADL. So we want some knowledge of this. We want to know what residents do they believe information. This appears to be above and beyond the San Francisco thing. Anyway, it's your LA Times. The date is June 10th, 94. It seems to insinuate that somewhere behind the scenes there's something going on in regards to the ADL. A little sidebar. Somebody sent me undated article. I hate undated articles. I love the articles. It's great information. But I hate it when it's undated. The article says, Black fraternity donates archives to Fisk University. When the revolution comes, we need to know where we need to go to get certain things. So what the Boulay says in this old Jet article, I believe this might even be 10 years old, was that they gave all of their papers, even their founding charter from 1904, they gave it all to Fisk University. So we need to know in case the lights go out and you're looking for something to do and you want some secret information, which we've been denied historically for a long time, Fisk University. Fisk University appears to be one of the spots we'd like to go to. Sigma Pi Phi, the nation's oldest black Greek letter professional fraternity, recently donated its entire archives to Fisk University in Nashville. And I know when I spoke at Fisk University in the auditorium, all across the wall were Grecian Sphinx. That was the first time I saw the exact same symbol. That was the exact same symbol on the Boulay logo, the vase with the right paw up, with the body of a lion, tail of a lion, and a white woman face. A white woman face. They serve one maiden only. And that was the first time I ever saw that anywhere outside of the Boulay itself. So this somehow must be significant. I know Du Bois had relationships at Fisk, but just to make a note of that, we know those things are there. Again, the Boulay Convention is coming up July 8th to July 15th. The Grandsire Archon of the Boulay, Hugh Perkins, came to Washington, D.C. about a month and a half ago to attend the National Endowment for the Humanities Board of Directors meeting, for which he's a part of. And he had lunch at a restaurant on 18th and M named Gusty's. Reason I get the details is that when the tapes go out, the people, he'll know I was there because I called out when he was there. He said, damn, I didn't know I was at Gusty's on that Tuesday afternoon from about 6:30 to 8 o'clock, sitting there in the table in the last row by the street curb, where he very promptly asked, what can you give me on this Steve Coakley? He's harassing us all over the country. He's harassing us in this city, reading our names out in the public. He's harassing that D.C. Boulay, one of the most elite Boulays in this country. So I just want to make a note that we appear to be on the right track. I want you to understand and not underestimate. Now, I always turn to Brother Marcus and at different times Brother Austin New and Brother Ed and ask the brothers never to underestimate the attacks that you're making upon the tenets of white supremacy, because unbeknownst to the most logical forces they suspected to put the ultimate pressure upon them, really the pressure came from the pitiless forces on the yard. And the pitiless forces on the yard with no resources, no computer systems, no space satellites, no SAM-5 missiles, or at least none we can talk about. SAM-5 missile is something you can put on your shoulder and shoot. Never seen one myself. I remember they got the Peace Stone Nation in Chicago to buy some, and they put listening devices all in the spoke of the gun and stuff, and they take it into headquarters and they jacking all off about what they're gonna do. and they had the mics right inside the gun. Anyway, but don't underestimate or ever belittle the attack that's being made on the enemy. This Sigma Pi Phi been 90 years without disruption. To have somebody knocking on the portals, to have cities knocking on the house doors of the people where they know they live, for people to be articulating and passing out information about them, after 90 years of being undisturbed, they understand this is no idle approaching of their door. This is as divine and metaphysical as they are evil and sinister. And remember, if you don't remember anything about the Boule, and many times in many cities I get our people got Negrophobia. They always want to get the Negro and beat the air out of his bag. But when you say they're hunky, well, let's do the Negro. Well, that's all right, we do the Negro. But remember, the significance of the Boule is its role in aiding and abetting the Round Table Group. We know the Round Table Group to be the extension of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Royal Institute of International Affairs in England, and that those two are remnants of the secret society amalgamated by Rothschild of England and Rhodes of England and South Africa. And because of that, we always hold a particular grudge and revengeful spirit towards the Rothschild family in particular for supporting colonialism on so many fronts. And as the white man asked me on that radio show, he said, well, is this a Jewish conspiracy? And I said, well, I found Rhodes and I found Rothschild. I just don't have time to know what religion they are. It was insignificant that you know who they are by name and can start to put pressure on the remnants of their families who have benefited. Evelyn de Rothschild is the chairman of the Economist magazine. He's also the big man on De Beers Diamond board of directors, etc. You saw Jackie Onassis with Michael Templeton, the De Beers man in New York, was her man. She had a way of attracting men of power and money only. She didn't mess with them unless they was worth millions. Because white women ain't looking for love. They're looking for, what do they call them things? Huh? No, but they got them things they used to call in the old days. You had to bring your thing and you had to look at your two things. Your dowry. They looking for dowry. They're looking for money. They ain't looking for love. They ain't never been in love. They don't even love their children. That's why they send them to boarding school and shit. As soon as they're born, they send them away. That's why they take their babies and put them in cribs. Put them in other rooms and put little microphones in there to watch them and shit. That's why when their babies are born, they leave them in the nursery wrapped up for a couple of days. They don't want to touch them or get near them. They hate the act of childbirth. It's a negative thing. It's a spirit deep in their soul. And we must never relinquish the pressure that they are the evil incarnate. And we must beat it out of them. And when I say beat it out of them, as opposed to vote it out, petition it out, register to vote it out, or to protest it out, we're going to beat it out. And when they know you're willing to beat it out, they might cut it out. Anyway, I starting to sound like Jesse Jackson or something, man. Stop that. I mentioned to you the other day about a millionaire who's on the Trilateral Commission who left a think tank to make a Nixon think tank. And then I mentioned to you there was also another story, Friday, June 10th. Billionaire funds new think tank. William Hewlett pledges $70 million for institute to study California public policy issues. Someone must infiltrate this thing because California as a state is larger than every country in the world except 4. Which means that California is as big as many states, which means that it represents for some people a whole different way of thinking, not just as a state in the western part of the U.S., but as an entity upon itself. There may come a day when the states go privatized, and every state becomes a fiefdom of who owns it. And it won't be the United States of America, it'll be United Combine of the money lenders. The corporate takeover. Yeah, many of the movies portray the countries go bankrupt and the corporations assume leadership on default basis, of which the country is primed for now, country leadership by default. Anyway, keep your eye out on that. FBI Justice Department clash over Epsi probe, Epsi and the Boule. It's a little Boule story. They got something up. I don't know what they're up to. Mandela at stock exchange offers, you know what he done offered them, assurances to whites. Mandela at stock exchange offers assurances to whites. I mention this because the stock exchange is an important group of people whose names never get named, Who's at the stock exchange? And I felt that that story was important because there was a story in the Wall Street Journal just the other day about Clinton. It says here, Woodward's book depicts White House that is obsessed with the bond market. Said the White House don't give a fuck about what the people think. All they care about is what do the bond men think. And the whole story is in a book by the white boy Woodward, who was CIA, been CIA since the Watergate thing, diversionary, get the book Silent Coup. It'll appropriately put in place Woodward's CIA activities. But the story is talking about how the man who claimed that he was going to change something, in fact, has whaled himself into the people who will never tolerate change without domination. Yes, sister. Right. That book, because whites wouldn't buy it and blacks didn't understand it, of most cities, it's $1. I mean, big, thick, hardback book. I got about 8 copies of it. Every city, pick and save, $1.99. Silent Coup by Gettlin, and another name. I can't remember it, but give me a minute. One force emerges in Woodward's narrative as decisive, the need to be credible in the bond market. What does that mean? If the bond boys say that stock markets are fluctuating because Khallid Muhammad is getting stronger in the bowels of the urban areas, and the stability of the urban areas, which are the financial hub of the New World Order, is being jeopardized by a man who wants to fight at the system, a roughneck. Ain't nobody ever claimed the position of wanting to fight the hunkies. I'm a roughneck, and I just can't change it. That's hardcore. That's an allegiance to the hardcore. Say, if you're going to use me, let me fight. And so in that context, that jeopardizes the stability of the bond market. You might not know it, but at each and every one of Drexel Lambert, Merrill Lynch, and Solomon Brothers, and Lazar Perez, they got little guys who don't do nothing but assess the viability of the mayors, whose viability is based upon the ability to control their population, period. It ain't about whether they're Democratic in the population. They supported the Democratic machines of Chicago and New York. They supported the mafia when they could regulate the clothing industry, the jukebox industry, the liquor industry. They support anybody that can keep the set under control. And it's not about whether it's evil or not, it's whether can it dominate. Can it be ruthless without emotion? These are characteristics, if you're ambitious in the white world, will guarantee you success. And so it just over-articulates. It says, the administration's concern with the markets had its roots in the January 7th, 1993 meeting in Little Rock before Clinton took office. The president's economic advisors told him a credible economic plan would drive down long-term interest rates and help the economy. A plan that spooked the markets could cut short of economic recovery. After listening to the presentation, Mr. Woodward says Clinton turned red with anger and asked, you mean to tell me that the success of the program and my re-election hinges on the Federal Reserve and a bunch of fucking bond traders? That's what he said. It's right here. It's quoted. That's what he said. It's Clinton. Now this is Wall Street Journal, June 6, 1994. I'm going to read that little part again. Says, Mr. Woodward says, Clinton turned red with anger and asked, quote, you mean to tell me that the success of the program and my re-election, now this is even before he starts, my re-election hinges on the Federal Reserve. You ever heard of them, haven't you? You understand that the Federal Reserve ain't never been demonstrated at, except for by a little group of hunkies who only want a little pay down to go away. And usually they're sent by Solomon Brothers and Lazar Perez to jack up the Anglos, to get the Anglos to do what the Zionists want done. These cross-pollinations of Rockefeller built up Nader to chase him on his competitors. Everybody builds up a radical to stick him on somebody else. The radical for hire. When you start getting radicals based on commitment for goal and purpose, now you've got an equation that can supersede money. Anyway, he says, you mean my re-election hinges on the Federal Reserve and a bunch of fucking bond traders? The advisors nodded in assent. That's deep. That's deep. I just wanted you to know that because I've always said that Clinton is being white-mailed. That Clinton has to approve of an assassination attempt on Dr. Khallid. The National Security Council has to do an assessment as the likelihood of nationwide violence. And I know they work to prevent nationwide violence because when you look at the news clips, you see how in those first 2 days when your possibilities for rebellion are the greatest, they said he was shot in the foot and up walking around. Trivialized it like he was really doing okay, and having talked with the brother, it ain't that simple. It ain't that simple at all. But they tried to trivialize that, not to build up anger in other cities, and then they stopped showing the shooting and started showing the dragging through the gymnasium, which means that the focus, and then came the other thing, and we witnessed it here the last couple of days, was, well, it appears as if Khalid's hate dialogue is caught up with himself. Why I've never seen words shoot guns. So if it is that this is words, then it's at someone's direction who didn't like the words. We mentioned here last night when we looked at the book Operation Mind Control that in the process of picking a lone nut assassin, a passive-aggressive personality whose dominant interests are suppressed until key moments of escalation and energy, always very carefully are prepped up and groomed and grilled consistently to hate the target. Who or what been talking to Bess to build him up to hate Dr. Khallid enough to drive and drive and drive to come and do harm? Can you imagine what he was thinking about as he's driving out of Seattle and coming through, what's the state under there, Oregon, and then coming through upper California and coming all the way down on the highway? What is he thinking about? Or who's driving with him? Or how many cars were there really? And what was they doing at the donut shop in Fresno? Check. On their way to California, the lower California, as they said, going down south. And those people in Fresno that saw them need to come forward and tell who it was that was with them. Be very important to know who was traveling that way. Yes, sir.
Okay, remember last week you suggested that somebody might be putting a squeeze on part-time? Couldn't this be like somebody saying, see, I got another Muslim to do college, this could happen to you, like showing part-time that, it's possible?
Well, I felt very clearly, and I believe this very straight. Okay, sister said, I mentioned before, I mentioned in an earlier lecture, and I know I got a Friday night's lecture last Friday, last Sunday. I've got to make some of the other night. I don't have last night's lecture because I didn't make the tape, but the statement was about that could whites be trying to whitemail Minister Farrakhan by making insinuations and allegations that could compel or build speculation. And then I asked that if he felt that he was being crowded by the hunky, then it would be good to tell those who are in the position to pull the hunky off his back. But this has to be something that's said to each other. Say, look, I said last night, I need to raise $800 to pay my bills. So we raised $900. But if I don't say that, then you won't know how to help me. So I have to say that. I need this help. I'm trying to do what I can do on this, and I still didn't make all the tapes that I wanted to make, scurrying through articles, talking to people on the phone, ducking and moving from other people until I can get better information and don't want to be talked to by everybody. So it takes some avoidance along with some concentration. And so I sacrifice. I bring 2 boxes of tapes in here when I normally carry 4 full boxes of tapes. I just didn't have time to do the things I needed to do to get the monetary bring back of what I'm doing, but I got a better picture of what I saw. As I come before you today, I feel even better than yesterday about what I saw when I looked in there. Somebody handed me a newspaper last night, I believe from the San Francisco Examiner. Is that person here who handed me that paper? Did you look at it? Did you notice what it said in it? Yeah, very awesome piece. I'm going to share that because it's got a very significant statement in it from the police. From the police. And it's a little section I'm going to lead to about, yes, there is a conspiracy. Anyway, Mandela at the stock exchange, doing what Clinton do. Every person who becomes a leader sucks buck to the stock exchange. So why don't we walk up in there one day? Why don't we go up in some of these places? Why don't we get to the spots to find out where it is that these people, if they're going to kiss all of the booty, he wants to make sure you turn the tape over. Okay, give me a second to get to that, Brother Keaty. Brother Keaty handed me something about Milliken trying to mess with Beatrice Foods. And, of course, you know the head of Beatrice died with a heart attack, a brain tumor. You know that W.R. Lazar dies of a heart attack with cocaine laying over the room. He's the top black investment banker. We know Travis Bell was a top black investment banker before that, and he dies as his little son was on a different world. And then they lost control of the company. Milken got prostate cancer, right, and then he rededicates himself to help the Urban League, whose new director is from the Rockefeller Foundation. Big Boule man. So we're looking at an attrition on not just, see, if Clifton wartime, see, here's the danger signal to me. Don't think if you lay low, be cool, hunky ain't going to touch you. Because Clifton Wharton is as good as a hunky brother could get. And he got set down. So my saying to that is don't believe kissing the butt is a guarantee of safety and security. Check? You do just as well to defy, like Brother Marcus always said, it's going to be a fight. Go on, get a punch in. And don't mess around and get the word. Don't get a swing. Might as well. They'll be swinging. They'll be swinging. Don't worry. There's another article in the Black Enterprise. Now, this is the Boule Business Journal, Black Enterprise. I mean, every time I subscribe to this thing, and man, I subscribe to 17, 18 magazines a week. They stuffed all in my mailbox. And one of the biggest burdens I bear is trying to get through all of the information that I done already bought. The money you give me, I go buy more stuff. Sometimes I end up better storing it than reading it. So that when someone says, did you see this article on Clifton Wartime in the Boule Business Journal? I said, well, I got it. When I get home, I'm going to pull it. And so another thing I always talked about is in the process of gathering information, there's a point when you're just collecting it. There's another point when you're analyzing it. Don't get overwhelmed when you can't analyze what you collected. Just keep collecting, then categorize it. Don't have to read it to categorize it. You just got to know what it offers, how you can pull on it. Brother, you got to take a seat now. It'll be disruption. Ain't going to budge. The date on the Black Enterprise is June 94. It's the 100, Ebony and Black Enterprise do their big 100 thing simultaneously. So you got the 100 most influential, they say, and now it's the 100 top businesses and stuff. And but in here is just a little side story, a little reflection. I actually am catching it out of order because it should have been 2 minutes ago instead of this minute. Beware of the U.S. health agencies. I just was turning past, and you know they come in with them immunizations, and they got, where I just left Miami, they got immunization trucks, what they call death wagons. People are attacking these things, cutting holes in the tires. There's some profound things going on. In Miami, they attacking them little microwave things. I mean, they're just shooting up in there. They're disrupting them. And no one's suffering from lack of phone service, so it doesn't mean or appear to have any effect on what the phone thing is, which is vulnerable to penetration anyway. What next for Clifton Wartime? He's been plenty busy since leaving the State Department. Yeah. He ain't got no power. Right. He is plenty busy since leaving the State Department, and his autobiography is in the works. And it just is a little story asking him about, hey, what do you think happened over there at the State Department? He says, addressing the Business Higher Education Forum in Tucson, Arizona, Wartime described himself as a recent refugee from the wars of Washington. Having resigned his groundbreaking post just 10 months, most of which were marred with what he calls faceless, anonymous, and destructive leaks. You see, hey, brother, how you doing? Here's a black man. How you doing, sister? Oh, I see some y'all on the AWOL list. I got y'all carved in the wall down here and stuff. This is story says the faceless, anonymous, and destructive leaks and distortions by the press. Wartime reflected to the group, it was an interesting experience, but to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln's famous story, if it weren't for the honor of the thing, I'd rather not have gone. Now, the only reason I say that is, what is the problem with a Boule? That when they get to a position of access and influence, because they've cut themselves off from their own people to get it, there's no one to appeal to when your ass is up in alligators. You know what I mean? I mean, now you're in the swamp with alligators and ain't got no boat and no friends. And so the perception is that a good Boule with a big job is not necessarily black power. Anyway, just a moment in time. Oh, let's see here. Oh, yeah, we need to catch this guy. I want to see. I want to find that Thomas Kutumatius or somebody. Okay, here. Oh, yeah. You know, I asked someone the other night if anybody had saw the article about the Chilton Alphonse having received $20,000. And it's in the current issue of the Sentinel. And I raised that about I had apprehension about seeing Dr. Khallid riding around on Saturday in Los Angeles in the Rebuild L.A. van. I didn't like that. I don't ever believe a government vehicle should be used by the revolution, because a government vehicle belongs to the government and usually contains government equipment, like eavesdropping equipment, low jacks, and other things that prevent government vehicles from being stolen. You don't know the government used the low jack before they offered it to the people. To stop the pilfering of government auto parts and government cars, they put them there first. And so I just don't like that. And I asked to know something about a Chilton Alphonse and why it was that truck was being used. I did talk to Dr. Khallid about it. And we had a back and forth discussion, and I tried to be a little bit stern about my apprehension about it. I felt apprehensive. I don't have an emotional attachment to the driver, just a researching mentality about what I think that does when you're doing something else. And so I raised that question. I had been told 1 week after that he had received a $20,000 donation from Ray Charles at a fit of needing money to make his organization survive. And we also remember that it's been said that James Bess came into about $20,000 in November, about the time Khallid gave the Kane College speech. That's not to draw any parallel to the two, but money at particular moments is important in analysis and figuration of motivations. And so it is in the current Sentinel. Youth Foundation may face threat of closure. And it says, facing a deficit of over $65,000 from last year's budget, musician Ray Charles has pledged $20,000 to a matching grant to assist Alphonse and Alphonse's foundation. But that's just the first hurdle, Alphonse said, describing the February fundraiser that lost $20,000. Anyway, I don't want to draw. Yes, go ahead.
That's my people, and I'm there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as far as what you just read, you know, Alphonse, school.
Listen up.
What the school is, and like, you know,
financial, right.
Because, see, he takes care of unwanted children.
Right, right. I understand. That's a very critical thing.
Right. We hang out there, you know, he's two brothers with me. Now, Ray, he mentioned something that Ray Charles and another celebrity, they're supposed to do something big as far as like bringing attention to their situation. Mm-hmm. Now, that was my thing. I was there, and I was going to come there, you know, leave school just to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And as far as like them using the van, I mean, like, who else is going to, you know, help this brother who's coming to deliver a message for his people, who now society look at as a bad guy, which he's not a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? And like, I offer my service to help Dr. Khallid. I load up his luggage in the van. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If I had a car, I would use my car. Mm-hmm. That's just real, you know, but it ain't no hanky-panky and none of that going down on there.
Well, I state again, and I affirm, brother, I'm highly suspicious of the use of a government vehicle by the same people stop now, it's not a rally, who made the society call him an outlaw, are the government.
I mean, you know, that's the van which was donated to, you know, his foundation. And
but it don't say foundation on the van.
Well, okay,
it say Rebuild L.A. And now I remember, was it Warren, what's that guy's name, Olympic man? Nuberoff and the rest of them. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I have a partner who works with, you know, Alphonse Chills, and he also works with Marcus Garvey School. They have a Rebuild L.A. van, and I met the guy who is in charge of Rebuild L.A., and it's the same person who was going to help me, hopefully, if I decide to go to USC graduate school. I mean, that's just some things that the brothers and sisters who have certain organizations, hell yeah, the government, you know, why he's getting these vans or whatever. I mean, Why not make these vans access to you? Because if you got a raggedy van, how can you take your children on a field trip in a raggedy van when the same nigga down the street won't even lend you his service? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Alphonse, you need people.
Listen up now, listen up.
Me personally, you need to go down there. The foundation of 40th and Crenshaw, the doors all open. Alphonse told everybody, hey, this is your house too.
Right, we're going.
So go check it out.
Right. And let me just say this in principle. Whether it be for Dr. Khallid or for Steve Coakley, I do not approve of the use of government vehicles in community activity. That's a principle. I won't bend the principle on emotion of a friend. It's a non-compromising principle because anybody who uses such a van could be accused by the government of misuse of such a van, and now we got a crime. Now we're losing a valuable person over someone's desire to impose a law that could be disparate, meaning they pick and choose who they push it against. And in principle, I'm not for that. And I also recognize that I don't think we lack for access for cars that are respectable. I don't believe that. You can't fool a hunky. If it's wrong, we used to work in politics. Some of the aldermen, city council people in Chicago used to say, well, cut us in or cut it out. And the question always used to be, if it's wrong, do we want a part of that? And I'd raise a question about the question of the mainstream. If the mainstream got the NAACP, Urban League, alligators, swordfish, carp, sturgeon, crabs, lobster, all crawling, all in it, do we want to get in that? I don't. And that's a principle. And that principle is based on fact, that those others in the mainstream who dominate the mainstream are anti-black, are produced and supported by whites, and have never, since the whites created them, been on the black side. So again, there's weight upon one's decision to make judgment, and I make and compel our community to start making judgments on fact and get up off the fucking emotion. You're not going to kill our race on an emotional attachment to the enemy. We're not going to tolerate it. The forces who stand to be victimized. I consider myself a victim. I've been punished by whites. I've been castigated by blacks. I've been disrespected. I've been underpaid. I've been spoken against. I've been assassinated, attempted. I've been through it all. I've sacrificed more than some of you. So I have a right to make the claim I make, and I have continued to fight those forces to the point I feel like I'm chasing them when they used to chase me. That tape, Africa 94, why does Mandela hold his fists up halfway? Eventide magazine decided to implicate that they understood it was a good code that the whites would be safe with the halfway thing. And so every time the theme went down, brother man put that flag up at half-mast. No one has died. Where's Finney? Winnie. It's a handful and a head down. In the spirit of we want it all. And the revolution that brought the brother out of jail is the revolution that the sister brought through the youth. And this revolution here in America has the same formula as that one. Don't separate you from your winning on some deal with the hunky. Yes, sister. Quickly, we're going to take questions quickly because I got somewhere I want to take you.
In the final call that Mandela's talking about giving them Africans, the white ones, their own land.
Well, he talked about that, but he also talked about giving clemency to the white extremists, that he would let them go for the crimes they already committed, back to do them again if they so desire to, or to get with other whites and do it from another country. I don't quite understand all of that, but I just can't reach him. So because I can't reach him, I can only talk to you about him. I can't reach him. Yes, sister.
Can you comment on the stuff going down in Haiti? Because I know that's directly connected to all of the World Council and the table and all that.
Well, sister mentioned Haiti, which is a part of what the whites call the Caribbean Basin. This Caribbean Basin compelled the destabilization of Michael Manley until he kissed booty, went to the White House and kissed booty and begged for the right to come back, and they put him back. First he was holding back the bauxite and the tin, and it got with the debtors cartel, which was coming out of Latin America and up through the Caribbean, that we ain't going to pay the hunky back the money we owe them. And so the debtors cartel got busted. Ortega got busted. They started destabilizing the countries that were joining in the debtors cartel. They go to Noriega, ask him to kill Ortega. He refuses. They knock out Noriega. Then unelect Ortega. They go into the Caribbean and decide that they're going to have an election. Now, I'm afraid of anybody that got the Pope as their godfather. Now, if the man is a Catholic priest and the Pope is his godfather, and I'm worried about that. I can't compromise on the Pope. I'm scared of the Pope. I don't mean scared of him, but someone who adheres to the Pope and the white Jesus thing. And I'd much prefer to him to renounce that Catholicism and then go back as a brother rather than as the Catholic priest who's president. Because I remember how Noriega ran to the Catholic embassy down there and they started playing rock music on his ass and forced him out. As they told him, we're going to throw you out there tomorrow because ain't no religion going to save you from the white man in America. No God we got can beat the white man in America, the Pope told him. And so he surrendered because he knew that we're not about religion. So Haiti has historically been under control of the Rockefeller family. Go look at Papa Doc and Baby Doc and their relationship with Rockefeller. Nelson Rockefeller, who was the first national security advisor, set up he was national security advisor for Latin American affairs, and everything south of Texas was Latin America. And that was in 1954. He became the first national security advisor America ever had. He created the post for himself. Anyway, Haiti traditionally has been in the Rockefeller orbit. They bankrupt and stripped the country down. And in fact, in a book called Vodka Cola by a white Jewish man named Levinson out of London, wrote a book called Vodka Cola. Read those chapters related to Papa Doc and Haiti and the Rockefeller family. They're outstanding. And it just says that vodka, Russia, and cola, America, have always worked together to neutralize countries of people of color. And that Haiti thing has always been a point of they really want a surrogate population to make it safe for hunkies to visit. It's really a tourist connection to them, though it sits in the hub of a Caribbean alliance that could be excessively effective for the race. This flyer here is what would have had me in Washington, D.C. In fact, this is related to Dr. Khallid because the power and the drama of the program that was held there, hosted by Malik Shabazz, joined in by Leonard Jeffries, Tony Martin, myself, and about 30 of the local people in Washington, D.C. That program was so powerful that it compelled Howard University to be begging and scratching to the Jewish community, the white Jewish community, that it was not a harbor for anti-Semitism. Even had Colin Powell speak at the inauguration. In fact, and he even tries to make an address at Khallid, too, in the address. And I got him up here somewhere. I won't forget him because I want to make sure that his comments about how Howard, after 120 years of history and tradition, will not be used as a harboring spot for anti-Semitism. So my lecture there got canceled in the same auditorium because they've announced a moratorium on what they call hate speech. In fact, in the question it says, is he a terrorist group? Is he a Muslim? What does that have to do with it? What does that have to, are you trying to say that someone is a Muslim that can't go in the room? I'll be a Muslim. I submit myself to the will of God. But I ain't going to let you call out no adjectives or no pronouns as disqualifying moments. You'll hear some more about that when September comes and school open back up. But anyway, how I got here, we were going to have the trial of the oath takers. And you see a gavel crushing in on the symbol of the boule, the symbol of Skull and Bones, the symbol and the oath of the doctors, the Metropolitan D.C. Police Department, the Masonic symbolism, the Chief of Staff symbolism, the Guardsman symbolism. We wanted to call the gavel on the oath takers, those who pledge their allegiance to things that are beyond their own community. We must keep our eye on them, for I suggest at another point in time we will have to undo the oaths and the commitments they've given to others. I would have and especially wanted to, but I might not get to do it to the next trip, or I might get to do it Monday night. I want to talk to you about this Constituency for Africa project. These are part of their newsletters that you see around. You might not see them much out here, but there's a Constituency for Africa project built by the Rockefeller, Ford, and Carnegie Foundation that represents interest on Africa in America. And of course, Carnegie, Ford, and Rockefeller are all people who Marcus Garvey told us about were no damn good in his day and are still no good today. And of those forces who led the attack and the robbery of the African continent, but still today Negroes are calling them good old white people and are bringing them back to solve the problem they created in the first place. And so this Constituency for Africa project is very dangerous. I know Randall Robertson was here recently at Cal State L.A. Brother put a lot of pressure on him in the questioning. He effectively said, yeah, I do that. I'll hang out with the Rockefeller and do that and this and that. He didn't even feel threatened by mentioning his close connection with the people who are the enemies of Africa. I only mention is we must put pressure on the Constituency for Africa, and it operates out of a group called AfriCare. AfriCare, as I look very carefully at where they are around the country, takes AKAs and Deltas and Kappas and all kind of fraternities and sororities and put them in villages in Africa, spotting eyes and ears under the guise of rural development. Missionary do some work, the fraternity sorority do some work, the farm equipment sellers do some work, the Pepsi-Cola truck delivery men do some, everybody's doing some eye and ear work in Africa. Yes.
Isn't that along the line of that mind control you talked about earlier, mind control by remote?
Right. That was Julius Rosenwald and the Jewish community saying, why do we give money to Negroes and advance the Negro struggle? And he said it's that we will be able to fight anti-Semitism by remote control. It was insinuating that the money breeded behavior, and it is correct. No one ever got the money and didn't bite the booty. Everybody swear they do, but there's no such thing. Yes, Brother Tariq.
The Rockefeller Foundation has had for 20 years in Nigeria agricultural institutes. They have been, I heard this on National Public Radio recently, that they have been working for 20 years developing all kinds of agricultural programs. They know that they can one country, for example, feed the entire continent,
That's right.
but they won't allow it to happen.
And the food-independent countries in Africa are Burundi and Rwanda. And parts as self-sufficient food-wise, meaning needing nothing from any other country. And that's awfully interesting as well. This is history of Howard University. I want to lead us here with someone. And it's about the story of Colonel Howard, a white man who was a very proficient Indian killer. He was such a good Indian killer, they gave him a grant for a college, now known as Colonel Howard University. And I say this because when one says Dr. Khallid has destroyed the 126-year history of Howard University, we understand which history they're talking about. It's this history. Now, y'all save that feeble applause, will you? Y'all got that tired. Y'all tired? Y'all been a long time? Y'all tired? Here's an article in Chicago, building up the atmosphere. I think Brother Franklin, when he called in the front page the other day, did a good job of setting the climate under which the attack on Dr. Khallid transpired. I felt it was a very effective dialogue about going through all of these various events, the Donahue show, the event at Howard University, the Kane College, the Baltimore. There was a whole series of being locked out of Canada that created a climate. The whites very carefully articulated a climate against Dr. Khallid, starting with the Kane College speech, which was protested on time delay, meaning it was done in November, it was protested in February. That means that between November and February, there were plots and plans. How will we play it? How will we twist it? Why not Black History Month? Why will we do it this way? Well, in fact, to tell you the truth, interestingly enough, I got the tape from Kane College. How many of you all heard that? How many of you all got that speech? Okay, that's good. There's a part when they put the ad in there, and it says, and Professor Griff was right, too, when he said, ... And then it says, and he was right, too, ... when he came here. Well, if you put the tape on the transcript, you will see what they took out was the word Steve Coakley. Now, you sitting up 3 months plotting and planning how to attack a brother, and he's got one little line saying, and Professor Griff was right. And then it goes, and he was right, and ... and he was right, too, when he was here. What value did they find in deleting 2 words, Steve Coakley? Was it that you couldn't affirm he was right? Or you wanted to pull Khallid and Coakley apart so you wouldn't want Coakley to see Khallid say something favorable about Coakley? Or that as a non-person, a non-to-be-in-the-media person, a no one worth repeating anybody to about, that Coakley not even be carried in a mockery discussion. But in 3 months of plotting and planning to delete 2 words is an indicator of something even greater than the person. It ain't Brother Steve, it's the focus on the hunky. That focus on the hunky is based on naming them. Naming them to prep them and prepare them. It's just like if you don't find a vein, you can't stick no damn needle in it. You got to pull it up, heighten it, focus on it, so you can stab it. Check. So much around the country was done to dehumanize the process of fighting at the enemy. And it says, but little more than a month ago, another Unity Nation rally attracted an enormous crowd to hear what one participant described as the anti-Semitic dream team. Assembled under the auspices of Shabazz's group were Leonard Jeffries. Now, Brother Malik Shabazz is from right here in L.A., in Baldwin Hills. His mother works right here in L.A., a very significant position, getting much grant money, too. And whether or not that would put her in jeopardy is something that remains to be seen. But he's an L.A. brother fighting it out on the East Coast. Assembled under the auspices of Shabazz Group were Leonard Jeffries, controversial chairman of the African Studies Department, City Colleges of New York; Steve Coakley, Chicago activist who gained fame for accusing Jewish doctors of intentionally spreading AIDS by vaccinating black children; Tony Martin, professor of African Studies at Wesley College, author of the volume entitled The Jewish Onslaught, a book that chronicles his struggle with Jewish groups about the controversial book used in his courses, and Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Again, each one of those bylines, a person summed up in a line, they don't care about Brother Coakley and some Asian Jewish doctor statement he never made. That shit is in 88. I'm not a non-person now for something I said 6 years ago. No, that's not the focus. Not to give credibility and credence. If I can be in Atlanta and somebody can tell me, call Jan Robinson names for messing with FEMA and First AME Church, that ain't no idle out of isolated attack on people. So Marcus Lewis to be called out way across the country in Atlanta, that ain't no idle dialogue about jerking somebody around. Of Marcus Lewis being suspended for 2 weeks for having Tony Martin on, talking about on the Jewish onslaught, who getting attacked for teaching the secret relationship between blacks and Jews in the midst of all the other books for hunky love. One little book is enough to compel a man to lose a job he didn't have for 20 years. If the book's so bad, why would you even worry about it? I mean, some things don't add up. Their behavior doesn't add up. And since no one's going to size it up for you, you've got to dig in on this and don't fall for the trap that the enemy will lay that will give a misanalysis to the people who are working in your behalf. And that's not a personal dialogue. I don't need that type of coverage. Oh, here's the ad. Minister Louis Farrakhan and Nation of Islam claim are moving towards moderation and increased tolerance. You decide. And it's this little paragraph right in here. They're all bloodsuckers of the black nation and the black community. Professor Griff was right when he spoke here. ... And when he spoke in the general vicinity. The sentence don't even make no sense. They could have just wiped the rest of the sentence out. And when he spoke here too. What are they trying to say? Right? Let's see what we got here. Okay, now, I get some of these other things out the way. I want to dig in on some other stuff. You know what type of stuff I'm talking about. Africa in the Minds and Deeds of Black Americans, a Joint Center for Political Studies. Of course, the head of that is the Boule, head of the Boule in Washington, D.C. This is a Joint Center for Political Studies, assertion of black leadership's concerns about Africa. And it just says right here in the opening about where it come from. It says the Rockefeller Foundation commissioned this study as part of its project, A Greater Voice for Africa, which was designed to explore why Africa does not figure prominently in U.S. foreign policy. It's because of the Council on Foreign Relations. That's a simple question. But they raised the question and put upon blacks to go find an answer about why they're not in the agenda of things when the whites who took them out of the agenda are financing them to go find out who they can catch. And of course, you catch everybody but your donor. That's the danger of receiving. when it's time to fight against the government and you use government things, you lose your right to fight the government. Anyway. Oh, let's see here. All right. I think I like this part here. Let's see here. I got something else I need here. All right. Here we go. Want to line up some things here for a second? Brother, you gave me this article, but ain't got no date on it. It's a good article, Eye in the Sky. It's about the ability to use a satellite to monitor a person on the ground. It's appeared in your L.A. Times how long ago? Week, 2 weeks, a day?
That one came out about a month ago.
About a month ago. Okay. Because when I get on tape and I say, well, brother gave me an article, I don't have a date on it, and everybody getting a tape saying, well, damn, man, when was it? Okay. Just so you remember the pressure you're going to put me under. When I can't footnote it, when I can't footnote the spot, and people be demanding the answer. The what now?
What about population?
Uh-huh. That was June 7th? Okay. I wanted to make a comment about the question of conspiracy. Brother Keedy is here, and he is the drawer of this chart. That's your chart? At one point, I'd like to call you up and hold this up and question you about some things you saw there that I think are important. All right. I mentioned to you earlier, this is in my section of the program tonight entitled Why I Say There's a Conspiracy. And I want to lay out a couple of things for you that give me those indications. Some of these you've heard. It's an affirmation of some things that we've already heard, but put into a context that leads to a conclusion. And in the final call that's out now, I highly recommend you get a copy of it. Y'all got any copies left, brothers? Y'all sold them out? I highly recommend you get a copy because there's one piece of information that's new to me I was unaware of, which was the third person with a gun who was in army fatigues, is mentioned in the story. I was unfamiliar with that person. And that video exists of that person with a weapon, and it will be interesting to know if that person was inside with the weapon or was just outside with the weapon. I'm very interested in that. But that was in there. There's something that I was unfamiliar with. Now, certain things we need to ask for to make an ultimate conclusion. And I want to suggest to you some things I think it would be good to ask for that would compel a conclusion on whether or not this was a conspiracy. I mentioned to you earlier in starting off that any attack on Minister Farrakhan's life would have to start with Dr. Khallid. That's a theory of mine based upon Khallid. If you remember The Godfather, you remember The Godfather? They wanted to attack Don Corleone. So what did they do? They set up a sucker spot for Sonny, didn't they? Well, with Sonny, he was the hot-headed roughneck who'd kick ass in a minute if given an opportunity. I'm sorry. In that context, they set up Sonny, sucked him out into a spot to get him shot up. What'd they do? They sucked him into an emotional thing that got him to go out alone. And then they got him in that little toll gate, and they ate him up. Crossfire, all kind of ways. But it was based upon making a prediction of his temperament. Knowing he was you couldn't get the Godfather without getting Sonny first. Just kick that around. Was it a conspiracy? We want to vouch for that the climate in Los Angeles on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was nothing less than disruptive. The climate in Los Angeles on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was nothing less than disruptive. 2, okay, I don't want to skip ahead that far. I really got some parts. I'll just read you down in the order of some things I think take away the question mark. The withdrawal of police. Remember the Audubon Theater. The police were pushed away from the theater. In fact, they just left 2 of them on the scene. In fact, if you ask some of them people out there, I think they will tell you all they saw right at the end was 2 police. Interestingly enough, this is something you need to assess or get a conclusion on. If there were only 2 police out there because they had all been pushed back, what was so safe about the back door? Was it safe because it was police protected? Was it safe because it was just the agreed upon way out? Was that what made it safe? It was not safe because the cut in the fence and the burying in the brush, that made it unsafe. Furthermore, the police declared they were unaware that there was a cut in the fence. And let me see the reports filed by the night policemen on the premises who every night walk those premises, drive those premises, and fill out a report. Everything at 100 hours is A-OK. Everything at 200 hours is A-OK. They have a watch system, no more than a guard in a prison, that has to make a note in a log that all of the parameter is safe and secure. So if it is, see, this also has legal implications as well. If that hole created a vulnerability that reduced security, then that assesses the liability of the school itself. And part of those early moments and discussion of the school was what they didn't do was heads in trying to ensure they had no liability as well. We ain't liable for nothing because we did everything we were supposed to do. Damn, we tried to stop them from searching in the first place. A highly unusual recommendation for an event that doesn't involve you. You're just letting someone rent the premises. Strange request and consideration that this is a ritual that is as old as the nation itself. And never have any of the leadership of the nation been allowed to lecture or perform without the shake. So to request it. Now, one thing the papers have hid that the pre-papers did run was that the ADL had requested that that be done. That they had asked the Riverside police to assure that there was no searching. Why would they ask that, seeing that white people wasn't looking at it as a place they wanted to go? Did white people feel that the Riverside police with guns was not enough security for them? That they needed no checking to be more secure? Something don't sound right. There's not a logical connection there. Makes me feel like it's a conspiracy. I want a copy of the transcripts of the police transmissions in that area 6 hours before the event, 5 hours before the event. I want every transmission off of the radio of the Riverside police and of the campus police to be examined in transcript and in audio. Because on those transmissions are something that you need to know something about. How was the order given to withdraw? It was done through a radio communication. Who gave that order? We must find out. Also want the transcripts of the 911 calls. Because the 911 got a lot to do with how long it took for an ambulance to come. Oh, we got niggas on the scene. You know, it wasn't until you heard the 911 on Rodney King that you got to hear the hunkies tell what they was really dealing with. How they talked about, yeah, we got a monkey, a gorilla on the loose here. A gorilla in the mist over here. Better get some extra squad car help. Remember that? That extra dialogue that incriminated them. We need the 911 transcript and audio for 6 hours before and 6 hours after that event from the Riverside police as well as from the campus police. And I believe if listened to those effectively, you will find the instructions being laid. You will also find the timing coming down, and you will also hear the transmissions related to Bess being locked out of his car. Those will be very important to you to measure conspiracy or coincidence. Of course, the media's cooperation included the trivializing of the event, the dehumanization of Dr. Khallid, the victim, the building of sympathy for the perpetrator. Oh, the mob attacked him, I mean, they tried to kill him. Right. That's a defensive strategy. Man, shoot with a gun, kill him. With defense, that's fair. The initial profile of Bess was saintly. The quickness by which a motive was established with an unconscious perpetrator. Now, I want to repeat that again. The quickness at which a motive was established from an unconscious perpetrator. In other words, the man ain't spoke yet. How you know what he's doing it for if he ain't spoke yet? Yes, brother. Right, very much so. The police asked for videotape. That's part of the sympathy built by that reporter, William Turner, or the photographer, William Turner, of the Associated Press. And all the initial stories about the Khallid event were all only on the Associated Press. That's very important. But, yes, brother, they did set the climate to scare witnesses. See, this is what you do with that. You use that to call in witnesses and say, did you kick him? I got a picture of you kicking him. Well, I'm going to prosecute you. But then again, if you just get on away from here now, we'll just call it even. So you start pairing off your witnesses with the potential that they're beating a crime by shutting up. Watch that carefully, and if any of you people who know something about that event at any time feel like you're being intimidated or coerced by the police, call out. Call out. Because that fear is to force you to do something off the grand agenda. You might not know where they're going with that. So, quickly, the police and the press had a motive and never talked to the perpetrator. There's something illogical about that. I want to keep emphasizing that with you. Each and every person that gave a motive was talking about shit they didn't know. They could not say, I got it from the, unless there was some pre-discussion. See, I want to introduce the possibility with you that the motive was preconceived. Remember, we mentioned that you had to be conditioning him to hate the target, conditioning him to hate the target, conditioning him to hate the target to prepare him to shoot the target, dehumanizing the target. But now all that preparation had to give up some pre-motivation. So when the story came that it was Khallid, is where we got the fake motive. Khallid suspended him from the nation. And false. Now, each and every person that gave that bad information must be subpoenaed by the people. They need to be called in by the FBI. All of those people at the news stations that read the news needs to be asked, who told you to read it? They say the writer. Who made the writer write it? Right. And what you get is you're going to get a bunch of hunkies. He did it. He did it. They're going to start telling on each other. Yes, sister. Allegedly, the student, and they tried to say student. I'm wondering now if that person was his accomplice, because the students were in the class. Yes. Listen up, listen up. And I make this suggestion, that the police knew who he was before he got there. I make that, and that the scene would be too late to be informed. If you were waiting on a trigger person, that's too late. Now remember, let's go back to Oswald. Oswald is a defector in Russia. He betrays the American government in 59 when there's his right wing. The long hair hadn't even come out on the hunky yet. This is before the yippies, the Beatles, and everything. He gives the secrets to the Russians, walks all around to get the embassy, gets a job from the Ministry of Health or something, marries a Russian woman who's the daughter of a Russian general, and then decides he want to leave, and everybody lets him out and flies him back to Atlanta. And from Atlanta, they move him to Fort Worth, and from Fort Worth, they move him to Dallas. And in Dallas, it's the man and the movement and the moment meet up at one time. So this pre-picking of the person, there may have been 4 or 5 prototypes that were being pre-prepared, and when the order from the National Security Council says go, then the most likely succeeder is inserted and the mission is transacted. I tried to make a analogy the other night about the movie La Femme Nikita, where the perpetrator, the killer, is chosen for the lack of connection to the target. Here you have someone who is connected to the target. And so you got a different type of intensity to build. But this is a very scientific thing to get a passive-aggressive in position to murder. How many times did he drive past the police when, you know, most black men get stopped, and that they could have searched the car? He had to be dirty when they opened the car. He had to offer ID, which did not match the car. The police have never said who the car was registered to. I really wish we had the license plates. But the other person who helped him might not be who they said they, hold on. The other person that helped him might not be what they said it was. See, they say it was a student that helped him. I want to keep re-emphasizing this because the students were inside the lecture hall. This is 40 minutes in the college speech. And that the student went and called the police, which is not what a student do. And if it was the person from the public housing project, that's not what they do, call the police to help a brother. That's not what brothers do. Brother will call a gas station and get the Slim Jim, not call the police and get the Slim Jim. That's not logical. And basically, you should be fearing an encounter with the police not to draw an ID on you. Evidently, opening up the car helped them find the car. Well, he definitely traveled from Washington to Riverside. He definitely did do that. How, whether he came in that car or alone or with multiple people is yet to be determined. Let me go back to sister, then the brother, then the sister, quickly.
And what is the likelihood of locking the keys in your car when you've driven that far for that long for something so important as to assassinate a prominent leader such as Khallid? I mean, he would not have done that unless it was part of the plan. I mean, if he's planned out strategically how to get from there to here, and he's going to lock his keys in the car at that place. He's not going to like, that's part of the plan.
But that's interesting, though, because I mentioned earlier that you remember that picture of Khallid being dragged through the gymnasium to go out to where the cars were? Well, when he got out to those cars, they were locked too. And the keys were gone. Not in the car, they was gone. And those cars didn't take him to the hospital. Another car did. Why were those cars locked and unattended? Very important. The car lock theory is more than just that car. It looked like Bess, and you never know how his keys got in there or who might have made the other guy get out the car and didn't pull the keys out, or maybe he wasn't driving the car. I mean, there are all kind of possibilities that make us not believe the police. Anyway, we'll come back into something about that some more.
You made a good point. First time we were talking, or last night when we were talking about Bess and the fact that he was indicted for some crime, and then he and his brother were indicted for a crime. His brother was put in jail, and he was let go and given probation.
No, his brother was let go too. Yeah. Time served on a murder.
And also, you mentioned that in 64.
Right. In Missouri. That's heavy.
And also, the other part was that it was also strange that not knowing anything about what was going to happen, all of a sudden, all the news agencies had all these files on Bess.
Right.
Showed on TV.
That was my next statement. The speed by which film was available on Bess. This is basically an anonymous man with no structure. But all of a sudden, you got videotape on him, and everybody got it. And you know what? That's the same thing happened with Oswald. They had Oswald shit instantaneously. They was describing his whole history and shit instantaneously. Same day, right. And also, interesting too, that the way they set Oswald up was that he was supposed to get away from the scene, and then at a certain moment, a car was to drive up to his house that gave him a signal, beep, 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 beep. He was to leave there and go meet somebody at the theater that was to get him away. But they were psychopathic type of triggerings. Beep, beep. I must go to the theater till they catch me there. I mean, there was dumb shit going on. And that raises other questions, especially mind control questions. Did Bess think he was going to get away, or was he a kamikaze? See, anybody who's been in the fruit or in the nation would know that if you are going to get in point-blank range and you're shooting at somebody and you got 18 bullets, 10 bullets, 9 bullets, the 10th person going to kick your ass. You know what I mean? And this is the ass kicking to the end. So from training, he knows he can't leave the scene. So who convinces him that they can guarantee he'll get out? Somebody has to guarantee they'll get him out. And he has to believe that. But then again, Ruby and Oswald were allegedly both said that they will be considered heroes for performing these tasks. Yes, brother.
Did they try to hypnosis?
We mentioned about MK Ultra and MK Delta and how people were selected. People were selected out of prison who had given violent tendencies. It's obvious Bess had strong violent tendencies, and that these people were groomed as profile types that would be usable. And I believe in the mind control. I mentioned the movie Manchurian Candidate with Frank Sinatra and Lee Harvey, and how they had psychologically got Lee Harvey to shoot his own man. And he gets sweats and sleeps at night in his dreams until he got recalled to remember that he killed his own man. That's that nightmare he kept having. And Frank Sinatra remembering somebody shot their own man but couldn't remember who had done it. Then remembering that Harvey was triggered into it. And the movie, I mentioned the movie Parallax View, mentioned the movie Telephone with Charles Bronson and Lee Remick, where they were coded to bomb based upon triggering the code, etc. Yes, so somebody wanted to ask a question. These tapes were to go back to Brother Ed. Somebody could pass. Hey, Ed, these are 3 copies of Boule History and Structure. They were supposed to go backwards. Just pass them backwards. I appreciate you. And we'll be moving along briskly. I want to get to some things that I want to show, too. Okay, this is something I should... Sister says right at the spot where I need to watch it. Okay. I think I need some hand equipment here. Yes, sister. Bess was seen at a donut shop in Fresno, where he, at the donut shop, oh, thank you, brother, appreciate you. What had happened was, I spoke in Fresno last year. There were 2 brothers from the study group there that had picked a sister and I up here in L.A. and drove us to Fresno, where I lectured there on the campus. There was a tall brother, I forget his name, with glasses, and there was a short brother. I had a problem with the brothers because on the way home, one brother who had been acting very psychotic, mind control-ish, pulled off the highway and urinated in front of the state police, and the state police gave him a couple of tickets, and it was just so illogical it didn't make no sense. Let me just finish. And so the brother that was with him, and this is, I'm saying this into the record because these people need to be approached and discussed with, said that in Fresno, Bess and several others were seen at a donut shop. And when asked where were they going, see, Bess is from Fresno. They said, we're going down south to take care of some business, meaning down to L.A. And so people in Fresno saw him on the way down. And so those people can best assess whom it was that was with them. Right, it's like Riverside. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. We'll put it right. Thank you very much. Could you put a tag on there for me? Yeah, I appreciate it. I know Fresno is much like Riverside, a poor, a white, racist community. And both of them have had problems beating young black men. I need sister, I need a hand switch for a little bit. Remote, yeah, there we go. Just 1 second, sister. I think I got somebody, did I miss somebody down here? Yes, sister, go ahead. Okay. We know that there was almost a speaking engagement for Dr. Khallid in Fresno in the month of May, but it got rescinded. And we also know that Mr. Farrakhan spoke in Fresno in the month of May. And the question, too, becomes, was during that period there some stalking of the minister going on as well? I don't want anyone to underestimate that Khallid was the only target. That they could have, in a fit of double-crossing, switched targets on him. And one renegade group could have... You notice how one group of the CIA don't like Aristide when another group in the CIA do. So when Clinton say, I'm going to not do this on Haiti, they say, no, you won't. And they drop a psychological profile out there on him saying he's unstable. Meaning one group of the same government is blocking another group in the same government. Yes, Brother Stan.
You're talking about that, you know, and people are trying to feel things. In 1969, 70, 71, he was at Chino.
He was at Chino?
He was at Chino, you know.
Chino is a penitentiary.
Prison down there.
Right.
You know, and I know this for a fact because I was there, you know.
And you said what now?
I know this for a fact because I used to talk to the brother every day, and he was in the nation then, and there was some problems concerning him then, you know. And like I'm listening, and like I do know that Brother James was he's not a stupid man. You see what I mean? And he would come to the culture class, and he would sit there, and when we had guests and things, the brother would sit there and take notes, and then he would turn around and he would ask some kind of questions where you got to get, excuse the expression, shit or get off the top. You know, you couldn't just tell him.
Pearson moments.
Yeah, so like, but when I saw him on the television, I said, excuse the expression, I said, I know that nigga. You know what I mean? Just that quick. You know, I'm sitting there and Mama, I haven't seen Stan look like that in a long time. So I'm saying that I don't know if I know he ain't no kind of guy that's no physical kind of guy. He ain't gonna, if you go to putting them things on him, he gonna kind of back up. But I guess when he gets something in his hands, it's a hard one to get the color. So whatever the
let me ask you this. Do you believe at any time during his period of incarceration that he could have been an informant?
Well, you know, Brother Steve, it's hard to say because Chino, like all the rest of these prisons, see, you know, at that time they were doing that lobotomy and all them things, and there was some question come up with Brother James' manhood, you know, so like, I don't know.
In fact, it's my understanding that in his period of incarceration at Chino, that stronger men used to dominate him physically.
Well, I never saw that. All I know is what I saw is that we were, you know, there was some...
Now listen up now, because he's going to answer it the way he can answer
Okay, there were some questions, you know. Brother James wasn't a predator, now if you want to put it
which
like
means
that.
he was not an aggressor. If anything, he was a recessive or a receiver.
I saw a couple of them predators.
Listen now.
I saw a couple of them predators jam him. I mean, they jammed him instead of him coming back like, fuck, what you talking about? I mean, all the bitch come out in him. And so, I mean, that's all I can say. But I never seen him in a compromising position.
Right. And that's important on a profile type to know how you get someone into doing something. Again, you got to build up this rationale of hate and disgust. And so at a certain point, you say, damn it, get out there and do it. Is you a punk? Oh, no. I'll do it. I'll show you I can do it. I can do it. Let me do it. Let me do it now. You know, that egg on thing.
So what I'm saying is that, you know, he was kind of a hard brother to get to know. I mean, he would speak, he was friendly and that type of thing, but he was standoffish. You know what I mean? So when you first raised the question about the weakness, there it was.
And let me ask you this. In consideration of that his record must have got expunged because the Seattle police had no known criminal record of him?
Yeah.
Does that seem unusual and extraordinary to you?
I mean, in the state of California, ain't nothing unusual.
Exactly. All right, check. I check on that. All right.
Speaking of big bucks, only this doesn't really involve bucks.
It does indirectly.
You're talking about the car.
Yes, I am.
Convertible Mustang.
Huh? Okay, I will. Trying to figure out, is this supposed to be set at a spot I'm supposed to need it?
There's the mic already there.
All right, Tony.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Startling new information now gathered in the investigation of the attempted assassination of suspended Nation of Islam leader Khallid Abdul Muhammad. There may be indications that the attempt on Muhammad's life at UC Riverside last weekend was part of a conspiracy. Bob Donnelly has details.
This videotape is now part of the investigation into the alleged attempted assassination of ex-Nation of Islam senior aide Khallid Abdul Muhammad. Some say it is the first finger of evidence pointing to a possible conspiracy. Fox News was there exclusively as 5 men believed to be connected to the Nation of Islam returned to the scene of the shooting. One of them crawled into this hole in the bushes and appeared to be looking for something. Our camera startled him, and he ran down the hill, rejoined his group, and they all immediately left. Police now say this tape led them to a startling discovery. Near the hole in the bushes was this, a hole in the fence, through which anyone could have passed undetected to get a clear and unobstructed view of Muhammad.
Our officers were
This would have been the back door.
The officers have investigated that area. They are investigating that area.
This revelation will only add fuel to the speculation that some sort of conspiracy might be involved, and here's why. If the gunman was indeed standing here, this is what he would have seen, a distance of about 30 yards or so.
Check this out.
He would see the entire path upon which Muhammad was supposed to use, upon an agreed-to security plan, to enter the gymnasium. Instead, Muhammad exited through a different door, and within minutes was shot by 5 bodyguards. If Muhammad had followed the security...
Now, when he gets out there, all the cars are locked up. No one had pre-prepared the cars. They were all facing the wrong direction. Now, notice how that thin rail is there.
This proves a conspiracy is involved. They had all exits covered. His planned exit, the exit that he ended up going out of, and I'm sure some other exits.
Further complicating matters is the fact that the alleged triggerman, James Edward Bess, lost his keys in his car prior to the shooting. He called police. Notice Bess got a straight tie. Began speaking. Straight tie. They helped unlock his car. A .30-06 rifle was later found in that vehicle, and 2 more handguns were found. White Cadillac, somebody needs to move their white Cadillac. They're blocking somebody in. Was a conspiracy. Say the weapons indicate that more than one gunman had to be involved. Muhammad, meanwhile, remains under tight security at Riverside Community Hospital. He had a bullet removed from his foot and should be released soon. The alleged gunman, James Bess, also remains hospitalized. He pled not guilty to charges of attempted murder. Not guilty. In Riverside, I'm Bob Donnelly. Good Day, L.A. That's a good piece. That's a good piece.
It's not really over.
Why is it not really over?
Because there was no justice here.
Okay.
There was no justice at all.
Okay. Now, watch this. Hey, oh, great. Oh, shit. The winner, 94 volume of the Boule Journal. Man, show you right, brother. This is the way it comes. The people bring it. It's awesome. Awesome. Ooh, the new mayor of Rothschild, the Major League Baseball franchise. There's Dennis Archer, the mayor of Detroit, who I told you went and Detroit was in the paper for taking knee pads to the White House so he could beg Clinton to help Detroit. That's deep. And this is a Washington, D.C. Boule Togo West. He's an ambassador. Now, let me show you this article. As you saw there, you saw Bess. You saw Bess in a straight tie. The police carried him away. Now, if the police carried him away, somebody amongst the police had to file a report describing the perpetrator. But look at this report from the police. San Francisco Examiner, Monday, May 30th, the day after the incident. Same picture that's on the cover of the Final Call. I also draw attention to, and I'll put this in your subliminal thinking. If you notice on Khalid's finger, all of these pictures are pushing a picture that has the onks on his left hand. Just put that in your subconscious. We'll talk about that later. Some more understanding of that needs to be known, but all of those pictures that were pushed are that with the onks on his finger. Story says Farrakhan cohort shot after talk. But right here is a little paragraph Brother brought forward I think you'll find significant. It says, Muhammad with personnel and police to talk to bystanders outside the auditorium after his speech at UC Riverside State University spokesperson Jack Chappelle. Oh, shoot. Brother Ed, I forgot to tell the people about the raffle. We're having raffle tonight, but we'll get to that in 1 second. Hold on just 1 second. The gunman, listen to this now. This is from the police. The gunman wearing the dark suit and bow tie, that is characteristic dress of the Nation of Islam followers, fired repeatedly into the crowd, said Police Detective Gary Davina. I'm going to repeat that again. The gunman wearing the dark suit and bow tie, that is characteristic dress of the Nation of Islam followers, fired repeatedly into the crowd, said Police Detective Gary Davina. That means that the police who drug him away, knowing he had a straight tie, are giving evidence in the public that the shooter wore a bow tie. And a policeman, that would be a malicious mistake if it was a mere mistake. It may be him saying what he felt he knew. I mentioned to you in Washington, D.C., they announced Khallid shot in South Central L.A. And, of course, in my first lecture, a brother in the front tried to make South Central right next to Riverside. Said it was only a 20 to 30-minute drive. He said so many black people moved into Riverside that it's like South Central. And the funny thing, Khallid heard the tape and he said, man, I'm glad the way you kept the pressure on the brother giving that bullshit about Riverside being next to South Central. Anyway, I think it's very significant, and we need to get some testimony from Detective Gary Davina about the statement about the man with the bow tie. The final call mentions the man with the bow tie. Dr. Khallid mentions the man with the bow tie. I didn't see the L.A. Times saying it. Do you?
L.A. Times, quoting from the L.A. Times article.
Come on up here, Brother Keith. I'm reading from the San Francisco Examiner, holiday final, May 30th. This is the Monday after this is the first day's article. This is the Monday after the Sunday shooting. Go ahead, what are you going to say, brother?
From the L.A. Times, Dateline, May 30, 1994, the article entitled Ex-Ace of Farrakhan Shot in Leg. Quoting directly from them, the L.A. Times reported, quote, the gunman wearing the dark suit, light shirt, and bow tie, characteristic of what Muhammad's security people were wearing, unquote.
Right. Check that out. So now we're following the statement. Yes, sister.
First of all, Channel 2, I think it was there on scene, but had set up in front prior to them even coming out of the front. And so that was interesting to me how they just knew where to set up, and they were right on, like, focus from the And another thing that kind of bothered me about the media was that my stepfather, he came in from Riverside to where we live, and it still had not even hit the news what had happened. Okay? And then all the way, like in somewhere like Atlanta or some other state, it had been covered over there already, but hadn't been covered in California.
And of course, I was hearing things in D.C. that you were not hearing in L.A. And that's where FEMA come in. FEMA is responsible for initiating 24-hour delays on information to prepare security, which means that the police had to be prepared. In fact, I believe that if you get the transmissions from the police who showed up that Saturday at Leimert Park, I bet you the transmission might have said someone shot. See, it said the thing about they heard someone shooting, so they had been told, look, they're going to shoot Dr. Khallid in the park today. Now, when you get the call that there's shots in the park, don't show up with 2 cars, show up with 30 cars. So they responded to the potential of social disruption, not a shooting by a woman. That was excessive buildup for a shooting by one woman. That was a buildup for stopping a rebellion. Yes, brother.
He said that it wasn't simply because the sister had shot. She shot at the police. So that was the excuse for having the 30-car build-up like that.
And what's interesting to that is that they let her go. Right in front of everybody after they arrested her in front of everybody. And in fact, people have told me they witnessed that same woman in a friendly fashion with the police only a half an hour earlier. Yes, quickly.
I was sitting there by Crenshaw when the car stopped, and I saw the car turn off from Crenshaw, and I did not see the sister in the car. Three brothers.
They say she had ran from Slauson all the way down here.
And then they had to take control of, when they had to take control, listen now, and they had to take control of the stage because they say she ran behind the stage. So they wanted to go up there and take the stage. Yes, sister.
Well, also, the news truck showed up like within minutes. Because I was right
See?
I was right there.
See, the news truck showed up. She said that the news...
There were two news trucks that showed up. I think one was Channel 7 and the other one was a white van that was unmarked. And also, when they caught the three brothers in the car, they said that they were her children. They did not say that they were, big adults or what have you. They said they were her children.
In fact, on one of the videos...
said that they were men.
In fact, on one of the videos we have from that scene, you see a little boy get arrested, and the policeman keeps hollering, "He's just a minor, he's just a minor, you can't arrest him like that." And they had him handcuffed and pushed up against the car, and a Hispanic policeman, and he's right on the video, he's hollering, and it's picked up by the microphone and camera, "He's only a minor, you can't do that." And then they all peeping behind a bus with their guns drawn. Real weird, like they were looking for more than what they were looking for. Interesting.
I know we was passing by, like before all of us took off, they was there, like I think a day ahead of time. The news truck was already there a day ahead of time. So
And we know they wasn't coming to cover African liberation.
I just took it.
Right, that wasn't African liberation they was looking for. You know what I mean?
I just thought maybe they took it because they wanted to set up earlier,
They were interviewing people in the...
They were trying to get people to speak against Dr. Khallid. That's what they was asking. I know some people got interviewed about, what do you think about his message?
They were in the shop.
They went in the
down there shopping the day before. And they
that's
were
deep.
interviewing different merchants in the shop.
And what that also does is give you a face print of each of the merchants and an attitude scope as that if we shoot Khallid, do you care or do you not? And if you find abstinence or vague support, then you attack. Brother Ed, I need the basket. I need to pass the basket. What you need me to do for you? What you need? You need the floors mopped? Speak up. This is a revolution. It's got to be more than we're going to get home early, though. Well, you got to say what it is. We can't resolve the problem. So that's what we need to do. We need to scrub the floor, clean the tables, move the chairs, and do what now? Yeah, no, I don't see you waxing them now. Don't be putting no wax on them. I see some water on them. I see no wax now. All right. Listen up. We need to do two things. I need to pass the hat twice. I'm going to pass the hat first time for Brother Copley. I'm going to pass the hat then for the Good Life. Last night they went first and I went second. So I'm going to pass the hat for Brother Copley. This helps us pay those people who are going to wax the tables, redo the floors, change the lights, remodel the upholstery, etc. But Maurice, I can't do it, so you must do it for me. I appreciate you if you would. Were you able to get a ticket for tomorrow? You did? Oh, super. Okay, listen up. Brother, listen up, please. If people get to run in for the door to hear donations, show you right. But that's all right, though. I appreciate you anyway. He was holding there. He was standing behind you. I know. I appreciate you. I was saying you don't need to do that. I appreciate your spirit. I appreciate you being here. No, I appreciate you being here. That's all that's good for me, is you being here. I appreciate that. Show you right. You got the juice. Show you right. Now, listen up. I need to put a videotape on because I raised some questions last night and I got to resolve them for you today. I want to show you something that's on video, and I got to do this quick light, 3-4 videos. Here we go. I don't know if there's slow motion on this, so I don't know how well it's going to hold. I've been using the video with some real good slow motion stuff on it. Okay, now watch this carefully. I don't know if I'm going to have to go backwards, etc. Again, I appreciate your support in the basket. And if brother misses you and you really want to give the donation, make him aware of your desire. Now watch this. This is this Saturday at the park. Was there a pause? There's the woman with the handcuffs. She's handcuffed. Was anybody seeing that? Anybody know about that? We'll talk about that in a second. Yes. Yes, brother, you saw here earlier.
The weaponry and the moves, we ain't gonna react unless we're prepared. Right now we can't live for physical education, not military warfare. That time is coming soon. So let's be cool.
I've seen this so many times, I got the rap song memorized. Where's this Brother Marcus here? Brother Marcus, there's the town car. Where Brother Marcus at? We were talking about the town car, found the town car today. That's the same wire on the end. As Marcus said, it was wired in the back. I don't know that much about cars, but is that a town car? All right. Remember last night we was looking for the white town car? We said the town car followed us up here. This car now is in the line of police cars forming the barricade around the park. That's interesting how each time something happens, you got to keep going back and look. I've seen the same damn thing so many times coming out of my head. But each time I look at it, I find something different, okay? Now, this is what I raised a question about last night. You're going to see what I raised a question about. Oh, I saw a person back there. And I just saw a person I didn't see before, and I better stop him because I think I better take a look at him here real quick. Watch a person walk by with a brim. That's one guy with a hat. Watch him. Now watch this other guy come in right here, right there, with the hat and the open shirt. Now, all this outtake becomes important as you begin to try to... Now, watch this. Here come the police walking. Here we go. Now, I'll show you what I was apprehensive... There we go. I'll show you what I was apprehensive about. Right there. Now, look at that coat. Look at that spot in that coat. Now, I'm not saying anybody doing anything, but I'm just saying I'm sitting here looking at this stuff, and I'm going to exhaust everything that enters my mind, for my mind is open. When you're looking into something, you don't dissolve it based upon a personal connection. Now, I thought that was strange because, I understand it a little better now. I understand the brothers are religious. He had come from church. I understand it was said he was going back to church, and that Saturday is his day of worship. That's understandable. Seventh-day Adventist. But understanding without knowing any of that, I don't know if this somebody pretending to be Nation of Islam. And I also noted that jacket on the left side don't fit right. And so excuse me if I be apprehensive. But I'm just studying what I got, and I raised the question. Now the brother was here or is here. Well, again, it's not a matter of whether he defends himself or not. I wanted to show you why I rose the question. And if you notice, his tie is even pulled in the left direction. Now, he's not really where the brothers are. He's not really involved in anything. The police just went past. He's not shadowing the police. He's just standing there. Yes, ma'am. They don't do that anymore? Okay. Okay, good. We got that squared away. Anybody else had a statement or comment? Anybody remember seeing him at the park? I didn't come to vindicate him. I came to explain why I rose the question. And stop a second. Well, I remember how you vouched for him. Your line was, well, he's Uncle Tom.
No, brother, I said...
That's what you said, wasn't it?
He started out, and I also said that...
No, you said that later. You said that later. Because I got the tape now. I got the tape right here. The tape right here. Okay, so you did say he was Uncle Tom.
You asked me a question. I was honest. I told you the brother, when he started out in school, he had some problems. I told you the brother was studying, and he got active, and started doing a lot of things with people. A lot of people were Uncle Tom. A lot of people still are Uncle Tom before they got exposed to knowledge.
That's true, but you weren't the only one to raise a question about the brother. And hold it now. Oh, now I'm talking now. On Friday, I met with several students who were very apprehensive about the brother, and in fact brought me another videotape with the brother on it. So, and there were people here who raised the same question. So your perception is one of many perceptions. And again, in an assassination, I'm liable to do anything. Let's just hope we can find my computation before I act on what I think. At least you'll know my thinking where I come to those conclusions. And in a murder, brother, there's many things that wouldn't be overturned. No one is beyond suspicion, including myself. And I'm going to show you another point of this. Well, the brother don't control the lecture, and if you don't be quiet, I'm going to do something. Sister, I'm begging you to do something with the brother because I don't want him interfering. Now, this is in the string of policemen headed into the park. Now, everyone else is assembling inside of the park to respond to the police breaking their agreement that they wouldn't come in the park. This is the guy who said that the little boy was a minor, you got to let him go. That little Hispanic guy. I don't know what his role was, but notice he's not in the line with the other policemen. He's behind them. He's the one that told them they had to let that minor go out in the street. Go back. Now, you can't tell me one little gunshot brought all of that, because there are thousands of gunshots every night, and in some cases the police do not even respond to drive-by shootings even. So it's not illogical that that was an unnecessary or unusual response. Well organized, correct. How many jurisdictions that they can't all be in one district? That means they would have left a whole district empty. That's more than a whole beat's worth of officers. And we need to study the geographical boundaries of the police districts. Notice the left hand stays low. It's going backwards. It's going. Hold it now, hold it now. This don't have the slow motion button now. It's a manual. Sure, you're right. Okay, give me a second. I got to hold the microphone too. Shit. So, ain't nobody said I'm gonna hold the microphone for you or something. Thanks. Yes, it's a speaker back there. Yeah. This is nice. Whoever brought this extension is great. Okay. Damn. Now I gotta find it.
Yeah, I got it. Handle your business, black man.
Okay, we'll wait till we get to the spot. Okay, there we go. It's coming. It's just going slow motion. Left arm holding to the left side of that coat. Hold on, let me do this one, Kitty. Hold it now, I gotta go on past this because he ain't the point of this. It's just you must talk out and examine everything. It's just if you start handing out passes for friendship, Khallid be in a jam. He'd be in a hell of a jam. Oh, yes. Oh, no, I got to pass the hat for the good life. There we go. Where's the other hat at? In the box. Okay, gotcha. This hat is for the good life. Please do what you can to assist the good life. I see Brother Omar is here. I know he like waxing tables and cleaning the floor and everything. We're going to pass the hat for the good life. Please help them. Oh, no. I got you.
Because the word went out that, the questions was asked about his, him being there. And the brother told my brother, one brother told my brother that he told the fact that he didn't call my brother no more. Because my brother mentioned that.
Right, I call him up. What happened now? That somebody here or something?
Give more than that to the religious pimp.
Oh, sure, you're right. Did we pass it? Are we coming on it?
If he really wanted to offend himself, I think I would have waited till he came.
That's why I just standing next to him to the front.
Now, one arm is out, one arm is down. That's the point I also noticed. When I felt I saw something on the left side of the coat, I made a point that there's a difference in the way his two arms are holding. He could have had kidney problems. I don't know.
Yeah, but who's the guy standing next to him?
Yeah, that he could tell. Somebody said they know him, so we'll.
That's my soldier.
Okay. Okay, so we'll get some understanding. Anyway. Right. Now I gotta put something else in real quick, and then we gotta close down. Of course, again, that was an overreaction on Saturday. Come on, video. How's that bucket for the good life going? Where's it at? It's back there already? Oh, here's some people want to donate over here. Yes, ma'am. Where you at? Oh, there you are, Lisa. I'm sorry. First there was quiet, then there was a riot. That's from the Night Nine with Lisa and the Poet Man. Anybody else for the Good Life donation? Please, and then we got to hurry.
Concerned about, I also went to El Camino way back when, probably before he was there. It's hard for me to completely be comfortable with the fact that he turned from a complete universalist, only hung out with white folks, did everything, student body, everything, to this moment now. Now, I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's a question we all look at. And two, I was also by Brother Simone when all the armies descended down upon us. I didn't see no women pass me. And I was right by Crenshaw. I didn't see no one pass, and I hear no gunshots.
So the precipitating factor was fake.
Right. Exactly.
Right. That's important. As you, yes, brother. Quickly. Quickly.
When the car came driving down with three police cars coming down the street, they were not driving fast as though they were in a chase. And Brother was really deliberate about making that left turn before it stopped.
I never heard the car, and I was right there. I never heard the car.
And what were we going to say too, sister?
You didn't hear the siren.
There weren't any sirens.
You would hear the siren.
There was sirens. No, I saw lights.
Huh? A white Camaro needs to be moved. So again, that whole scenario, and it'd be interesting. Some policemen had to file a report relating to the precipitating factor. But again, if we had those transcripts, that's why brothers be working on scanners and so forth, because you need to be plugged in. We ought to pay somebody to sit at a scanner all day long. Do you know that every news division, every television station has a person that does nothing but sit in front of a scanner, and if they hear a 4-alarm fire at the Good Life complex, that's when they decide whether they dispatch a truck based upon hearing them alarms and the level of alarm, like it's a 411, a 1011, a 711, or whatever the depth of the fire. Those things are judged by the person listening to the scrambler. And that's a professional job for somebody, making $30,000 a year just listening to the scrambler.
Tell you the codes that the police.
Right, because they holler out codes. I know Titi was teaching on the codes.
It's an armed robbery, because that's what they got me on. They put that out.
We appreciate that, brother.
You all on your ticket, you get, your clothes and all that.
Right.
211? What's your fault? 211? Oh, man, you don't know.
Yes. What's that? Oh, the code book, okay.
Code book. It's called Peter Code book.
Is that it, that blue book?
Yeah,
and notice it's in blue, too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that sound.
There's the gun.
I can't get the volume up.
Look on the TV, the remote on your phone, just leave.
If we see anybody running away,
There's a better shot of that. That's one. I don't know if this is the one. This is high. This video has got a down low on it. No, this is another copy. Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Now, again, she never does a shot from the scene herself. After this, they never allow her to do a shot from the scene. Keep going, keep going. Again, now the perception you get is that the police showed up right away. And again, why don't we see the footage, when we hear the shots, why don't we see the footage of what happens next? Since the camera went off her shoulder and focused in, why don't we see what the camera kept showing? It then cuts and comes back to the police.
There's 4 separate scenes.
Yeah. Yes. Right, we always said that the police, though, publicly have told other people that they came with their guns drawn. Oh, this is, you got to put it up on him. Again, this is the man with the motivation that Khallid took away the X. And this is a guy we got to see. That's as high as it'll go. Now, see the white guy there? That's the same guy in the video where he's lecturing at that table. The guy that's sitting next to him at that table when they show him on cable TV, that's the same guy standing at the park. You missed that, didn't you? I was talking. Go, Keith. But it's just what he's saying. He's saying that he knows for a fact Khallid took his ex, which we know ain't true. So how can it be a fact?
That guy right there.
Right now, that's representative in Seattle now, I hear. Because, you know, I asked who was he, so someone came and told me. He's state rep now to 37th District. Okay. We need to assemble a little volunteer corps so we can help escalate the Good Life cleaning up. I know I'll get on it. Anybody else, I need maybe 3-4 people to do some things under direction of the ownership that we could do to escalate. Brother, anybody? You're down, hand up. Brother, you too? You had a question, didn't you? Okay. It's a comment. Listen.
When I was around the corner and I saw a police car unidentified with the license plate back, then we got being stopped in the remote park. Then my mom, we drove around there because we were heading home because we had to do something to go back. And when we got around the corner, next thing we knew, we were surrounded with police.
As I hear, they cut the streets off surrounding the park, not even up on the park, but around the park. And Khallid was saying how the barricades were closing the streets off on that. They almost couldn't get in. Yes, brother. Thank you.
Hyde Park. They all met up on Bryanhurst and Hyde Park, and then they all just got behind us, and we were going down to the park, and they just was just flying all down the street, turning down. Then they turned down down the back street on the street.
Ed's going to wiggle around. If 25 people want to buy a raffle ticket, we'll give away a video. Okay, if anybody want one real quick, we got to do it quick because we're going to suspend. Let me just see. I think it was something on the last videotape is the shooting again. I got to go back to that 1 second. Got to go back to that 1 second here. Just last thing here. No, it's made to last. Can't get that click going. Can't get that vibration. Yeah, it won't, it's not going. Keely. Again, remember the statement of the brother who wrote in this week's Sentinel. It's important, this eyewitness statement from James Williams III about the 2 gunmen. Brother Keedy, you remember the interview with the student at Riverside? And he says distinctively that 2 black men were in the demonstration with the whites. 2 black men were in the demonstration with the whites. And we need some photographs or some pictures of who these 2 black men were. I looked at every photograph, every copy of the demonstration that I had. I could not find the 2 black men. Just let it play quietly. I could not find the 2 black men on it. And so we're in need of finding them to see. This man says that he saw Bess put up an anti-Khallid sign and that the other man was assisting in the anti-Khallid activity. And he gives that as the reason why they said he's working for the Jews, was supposedly a result of having seen them earlier assist them at the demonstration. You should get this story. It's in the Sentinel, and you read it on the air. What do you want to say about it real quick?
Okay, since he remember when he said he pulled up and he put on a zoom lens on his camera?
Right, he should have some pictures.
Right.
Right. You're right. We also know that if Bess killed Khallid or tried to kill Khallid, that Khallid was still receiving death threats at the hospital. That indicates that the killing of Khallid was far more complicated than Bess, as well as I told you listening to the 1-800 line out of New York, and there was die, nigga, die, we're going to get you in the face next time, we're going to shoot your children. There were aggressive statements made into those phone lines 800 numbers by whites. Right, and it just shows that if it was just Bess, why would they even be excited? If you really felt Khallid was harmed and I was white, I'd be afraid, as opposed to happy. So I thought that was strange that it went like that. The shooting, it should go to the shooting with the circle around it. Yes, yes, sir. Your mama had a question? Go ahead, sister, quickly.
It's more of a statement. I experienced, one of the cops was very angry. One of the young black officers was very angry after they weren't able to get into the park. And, I was trying to explain to him, for him to see the other side. And so he said, well, I've been there. I was one of the Muslims, and I was one of this and one of that. And I couldn't figure out why he said that until after it was all over with, and he was gone. But I think it was very interesting that, the black officers that were there, one of them jumped out of his car, and before his feet ever touched the ground, he cocked his gun. So it was, long.
No.
I just wanted to go back to that shooting one last time again to ask any of you who've seen this wife. And notice how they keep showing the speech every time. Brother Ed, last person up front about the raffle. Let me say this. I really wish that the Final Call article had asked people for knowledge to call the final call or write the final call. I wish it had taken a more proactive role in the gathering of the facts. If the Final Call had put out a 1-800 number, there are many people who want to say things who don't believe they have anybody to go to. Again, if it had to, it would have found itself a better receptacle of knowledge. Yes, brother. Right. Well, you hear her when they dragging Bess by. She goes, "Oh my God!" You hear her, shocked. She was like shocked. Right. And that's why you never see her. You never see her do a story until the next day. She doesn't do any, because she could have ran up there and got all under there and put the mic on it. You never saw her do any of that. She froze. Something happened. Right, something happened there. Okay, listen up. Is that at the spot, Kitty? Okay, last thing. I just want to show this one more time. Just want us to watch this one last time.
In fact, our Saeed Fagan was just seconds away, going on the air live. The gunman found his mark, hitting Khalid Mohammed in the leg and wounding 5 other people. Our Drew Griffin has late details now on their condition and more on the suspect in this live report.
Yeah, please do, Kitty.
Notice as they showed this is the first time they've shown this. They have it superimposed on a fake TV, therefore cutting down the streaming image by about 35%.
Right.
That means there's some. Now I've analyzed the 4 different segments in detail. I'd like to point out the fact that first you see the camera zoom up, then they cut, and then you see policemen in the scene. As you see policemen in the scene, there is one tall policeman the only one on the scene all day wearing a SWAT cap. He's observing very close in and making absolutely no action to penetrate. There's a second cop that comes in, pulls his radio down from his ear, puts it in his belt on his left-hand side, and then goes into the back of the crowd, starts trying to enter the crowd and rescue the shooter. There are 3 other policemen in the scene that make no attempt to penetrate the crowd. This is the scene 1.
Saeed Fagan was just seconds away, going on the air live.
None of the guns were drawn. They were not drawn. But right now you see no guns drawn on this one.
Standing tall with a black SWAT cap on, making no move. He's right on top of it. Right up to the cut. Supposed to move that mic back. Okay.
That's right, Joe.
Well, he's so small you can't see. This one they later blow up with a circle.
Yeah, push it a little forward. The circle comes right after this. Just
Here's the tall cop with the cap on. He's making no attempt at entering.
that's a cop there with the cap on the left.
And then the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
cop
you're
will
right.
enter
That's
from
right.
right
That's
to
what you're
left,
right.
putting his radio down. He's coming in right now.
Now remember, we showed eventually when the police get ready to pull him across the street, they got their sticks out like they're guns and they're pointing them like they're going to shoot somebody with the stick.
Gung-Ho cop. I call him cop number 2. Gung-Ho. Take his radios in his right hand. Puts it in his left
bootleg
belt.
video of big plastic. Yeah.
Then he attempts to penetrate the crowd. Cop number 1 still hasn't moved. Yeah, our third cop standing there with cop number 1 observing. See, Gung-Ho is now on the left. Now, from the left side of the screen, a tall black man wearing a dark suit and a bow tie comes through the picture. So you can see Gung-Ho is the only one trying to separate the crowd.
Notice he got his stick drawn, but not his gun.
And Gung-Ho is also the one who dragged Bess away, the first one with his hands on Bess. There, tall black man coming through the screen.
Trying to grab the policeman's arm.
Walks
Yeah, he
around.
gets away. I don't know who he is, but if you notice after this, he goes straight on out.
That's him.
Now watch what happens now. Watch him now. Watch, he goes straight on out.
Well, he circles the crowd.
Well, he's already made his circle around. He's made his circle around already.
Now, there's another scene where you're going to see that same man. His behavior is very bizarre. Right. So this is the same one. I think I ran this one slow motion on the tape.
Now remember, Khalid's on the stairway. Remember, he's down here on the stairs.
He's been pushed to the right side.
Hit him.
Khallid has been pushed to the right side. The gunman has been pushed to the left side. Again, tall cop with a SWAT cap on is in the center. Gung-Ho comes in with his radio in his left belt and then tries to penetrate the crowd on the left side.
Now notice there's one policeman holding the policeman's back. He ain't trying to do nothing.
That's right. That's the one with the SWAT cap. He appears to be the commander.
I see the brother way back on the other side now.
Yeah, here he is over here pulling.
I see
The
him.
tall brother with
Now I believe the gun went down right in there.
I see the brother looking.
No, the gun has been gone down. They cut a minute out of the tape.
There we go. He's walking around. He's out.
Just push it forward to the circle. Push it forward to the circle. This is for the winner of the videotape. Where those volunteers at? We got to be ready to roll. Time to take care of business. This is the winner of the Boule videotape. Last three numbers, 601. 601. Last three numbers, 601. 601. Last three numbers, 601. You just bought the tickets. He didn't do this till a minute ago. The person ain't here? You got it? All right, all right. Show you right. Principles, 1.
Go through this next piece of tape. This is where they're dragging him away.
Now, James Bess, who they had to drag to safety, was armed with not one but 4.
Gung-Ho is the one dragging. Same kind of class.
2 loaded 9mm handguns found in a backpack near the shooting scene, and a high-powered rifle found in the suspect's car.
Now, back up. There's a white guy in this picture who looks real suspicious. As the cops are moving here in a defensive posture, there is one white guy who's wearing a blue, UN blue shirt. Wearing, I think, Paul, he has a mustache. He looks almost Jewish.
He was here the other night, T.D. He came here during the lecture. He came here, and when he turned on the video, there he was. He came here.
Wearing white sneakers.
Ask Brother Omar if it was him.
Wearing white sneakers, okay.
Well, he didn't have white sneakers the other night, though.
Right. Well, he's wearing white sneakers here. Watch his movements because the police are in a collective defensive posture. And he's moving along with them. As one black man moves in on the back side of them, around the right side of the screen, he kind of body over to screen that black man out of getting close to that police.
Also saying out here in Riverside that James Bess, the suspect, was very well armed. Police confirm now James Bess, who they had been dragged to safety, was armed with not one but 4 guns.
They didn't have to drag him. They could have carried him, but they never.
The blue shirt in the middle was something is right here.
Shooting scene at a high...
He looked Jewish, too. Yeah, that wasn't the guy that was here. It was another guy that was here.
4 firearms.
You want to take slow motion?
Just slow motion.
Now again, Gung-Ho Cop is the only one who does any work this day.
Apparently are all right. Police are also saying out here in Riverside that James Bess, the suspect, was very well armed.
Gung-Ho is the one who's dragging him while his face is dragging the ground.
Making sure he's good, knocked out.
That's right.
That's probably when he asked him what the motive was. He said, what's the motive? He said, concrete. He said, that must have been Khallid, he said. And that's how the...
The white sneakers come into the middle of the screen. You see the white sneakers, that's the man with the blue shirt. White sneakers. Now see, he's moving in a defensive manner with the police.
And then he turns to the crowd backwards in defense. Right, bouncing. And they say he got a broken shoulder. They might have broke it then. They might have broke it. Now, see, somebody said they thought the police grabbed something out, tried to grab something out of the small of his back. But one of them could have carried him, and that would have been the end of it.
See, the guy in the white sneakers is turned around backwards now.
Okay, I see him. Yeah, backwards.
Yeah. He said, we white guys in trouble.
And in his right hand, he has a blue kind of portfolio kind of thing.
Right. And interestingly enough, they said that at the end, most of the whites had gone. Right. Policeman, what's that he got in his shoe there?
That's his third gun, in case you didn't have one.
Right, put that plant gun on there. Got the plant gun ready. There's that straight tie. Surely not a bow tie, Mr. Da Vinci.
Blue shirt in the middle of the screen. He's been moving very close to the police the whole time. There he is.
It's got a pouch of some sort.
Now watch him screen off a black man who's very hostile. See?
Yeah.
No, not the...
Yeah, he's got a tie.
See, he screens off the bow tie brother. Yep.
No, that's not him. He was closer to the shooting.
And again, Gung-Ho is one of the 2 cops dragging the body. The police just leaving the screen was the tall one with the only one all day who you see with the SWAT cap on.
And then you got all these black people on here, and the other policeman straightening out his sunglasses.
What kind of police were they?
Yeah.
These appear to be city police.
And what kind of police was the guy in the bulletproof vest without a uniform?
It wasn't a bulletproof vest. Some kind of a vest, like almost a freeway worker's kind of a vest.
It's too hot for a vest.
Right.
That don't stop no bullet.
Located now
Push up quickly to the one part with the circle. Forward. Real quick, real quick, real quick. Let go. It should come up next. Yeah, not that one. All the way, go all the way. Now, see that guy down there? That big guy in the corner? That's the same guy you saw at the park when they went to get testimony about what was Bess like. Strange he happened to be in both spots. And I was told that he's also Jewish. Oh, by the way, in case you don't know, I'll tell you this. Bess had a beeper on him. The beeper was taken from him. It's not in the hands of the police, it's in the hands of the people. And he also had a phone caller card in a Jewish man's name. And those calls are being traced by the people. He had 6 numbers on his beeper. Oswald called the mafia and all the guys in Chicago right before he went in to do Kennedy.
Notice the police presence after the shooting.
Yeah, look how many of them there are now. And this is it. We're going to stop right after. We got to stop. You know him?
Yeah.
Now, that's the San Francisco story that they showed that said the man in the bow tie. That little shot they just showed, that was the cover of the San Francisco Examiner. Yes, sir. Listen up, listen up.
Agreed upon security plan. We don't agree upon any security plan with anybody but ourselves.
Right, right.
I'm saying somebody from within our organization
Right.
said, well, we got agreed to go out the back door. That's a different story. But if he's saying agreed upon with who?
Right.
Who do we think that agreed
I think he was almost more telling the people who didn't see him shot out the back that he had no control, that he wasn't shot in the back. I told you I'd get him out the back. Yeah, now here we go. Last shot. Now here's the white guy again who shows up here.
As we report,
Evidence so far indicates the gunman who attacked former Nation of Islam leader Khallid Abdul Muhammad was acting as pictures of the shooting.
Here's the white guy.
Closely in the center there.
Is that him, Omar?
Raise his gun and fire at Muhammad. Muhammad was struck in the
He come by here the other night in the middle of the lecture, just walking down Crenshaw.
Meantime, police say they have found more
Watch him, Keith. He just drifts out.
James Edward Bess. Drew Griffin is live in Riverside right now with the latest on that. Drew?
No, it'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better. It actually, they'll come back to show it, I believe.
To look closely in the center there, you can actually see a man raise his gun and fire at Muhammad. Muhammad was struck in the leg and died.
But see, actually, I believe...
Meanwhile, police say they have found more evidence against the alleged gunman, James Edward Bess. Drew Griffin is live in Riverside right now with the latest.
But again, I believe Dr. Khallid is behind him, not in... Now, look at what I'm saying. Now, if I think this is right, you got Bess with the gun up, with the gun going down, but Khallid's actually behind him at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Khallid's on the steps, and Bess gets turned around with this gun. Oh, where you going? Go back to rewind, just that spot 1 second.
It appeared from my analysis that Khallid had been pushed down at the bottom of the stairs off the right side of the stairs.
Right, right, and where Bess is actually facing out to the people. Now you notice this big tall guy. I always mention this tall guy who's looking in the opposite direction.
Evidence so far indicates the gunman who
This tall guy.
Nation of Islam leader Khallid Abdul Muhammad was acting as a picture.
Now watch, stop it. A little bit further, go a little bit further. Now watch this guy, watch where he's looking. Now Bess is supposedly shooting right next to him.
See the tall man in the right?
Stop now, stop. Thank you. This guy right here is not looking at the shooting. Now you can't tell me shooting going on right next to you and you ain't turned around unless he thinks he's looking at the shooter.
And just to the right of the circle, the black man right there, never moves. He might be looking at the same thing the guy on the left is looking at.
Yeah, he's looking, they're looking that way. Now I believe Khallid is down here on the ground. This is where I get puzzled at. Bess has actually now been turned around. I don't believe Khallid's right here, because Bess assumes that position in a minute. I believe Khallid is over here, which is why these people are still looking this way. But then you hear, if you match the shots up from the distance with this picture, looks like his shots are going this way.
Correct.
But where those shots that went that way?
It appears to me that Khallid is behind the woman who's leaving the screen.
This one?
Yeah.
You think Khallid's down here?
Watch the crowd start to part.
Okay, now that's a question of whether this is a railing down the stairs or the stairway is railing down is up here.
Up is to the left, down is to the right.
Okay, let's see if they're coming down a stairway or that's flat ground. Again, that's the only white guy on the scene. Brother still looking this way? This one. Now, something's going on down here. But then the gun is going to come up, or has it come up already? Okay, so what's going on down here? Is Khallid there?
Yeah, I see somebody down the ground. See that going here?
Push to the right side?
Right there, where you got it, right
Here?
there. Yeah, who is that?
There's somebody down there. See, it'd be interesting if Khallid get the first bullet, the fifth bullet, the fourth bullet. But the AP man said it was just 4 bullets. See this guy here? I don't understand this. I don't understand that. This guy is at least looking in here. This guy here is looking some other direction. Okay. All right. Gotcha. But probably for another reason he went on. Yeah. Now, see, here's the gun up here now, right? The guy's still looking the other direction. Now, Khallid says he looks up and sees the other man with the gun. He sees him with his own eyes. He saw the bow tie man. Now, look, there's a hand go down. Of course it was more than just Bess. Now, again, watch this guy. Gotta watch everybody. Now, is this smoke? No, that's the guy's coat.
Sure, see that guy right there with the glasses?
Now, these brothers tackle in there. But this guy still ain't looked down yet. He's still looking someplace else. Now, does he see the man going away? Is he now looking at the man drifting out? Who ran across the field? Now, watch this guy come in, too. Anybody know what the temperature was that day? Hot. Well, you know, the Muslim wear a jacket, but jacket. Yes. Down here? Well, remember, the big man lays on him. So you'll never actually see Khallid exposed after the first shot. Because he says the brothers tackle him and literally smother him up on the ground.
Are them brothers going to be commended for that?
They deserve condemnation. Accommodation. Right, there you go. What is this guy doing? He's saying something. His mouth is moving. Yeah, his mouth is moving. Yeah, something's down there. Yeah, watch this little kid here. This is not Khallid's son. This is another little girl just standing there watching everything. Yeah, she's just standing there all by herself. There's no sound on it. When they went to this, there was no sound. Oh, move it over a little. You can, in fact, let it go because there ain't no sound on that. And then we just got to stop it there. One more. Okay, they wipe it. Where is the rest of that film? We'd be interested to know. Hey, I really appreciate you all coming out to the Good Life tonight. Those people that volunteered, we really got to help because brother worker went home. And, huh? Oh, nobody won the video, right? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it wasn't but $20 in it. It was $35 video for $20. You need a tape or something? You want a tape? I mean, all right. How you doing, brother? How you doing?